Yeah. My. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm really glad to see you today, those who are already joined in and those who are still joining. We have 3 minutes till we start our conference, so please find the chat box and in any convenient for you manner, put pluses, yeses, whatever, to show us that you hear us, that you see us, and if it is convenient and safe for you, please type where you are joining from, so that traditionally we create this feeling of how big our teaching community is, that from all over Ukraine and even from abroad you are joining to get ready for the new school year and get some new fresh ideas, or just to be in this very warm community. So I see that Kiev, Kharkiv are joining. Vinnytsia, Chernigiv, Lubny, my God, I love this moment, really. Cherkasy, Poltava region, you're joining. I love this moment every time. Every time we are online, but this is the feeling that we are all together in some just big place, so that we can at least virtually hug each other and feel that we're not alone. Kharkiv is here, Novakakhovka currently in Kremenchuk, hugs to you, Novakakhovka. Poltava, Kiev here, Chernivtsi is here. Glad, 2 minutes to go. Good afternoon, Chernivtsi. Oh, we have lots of teachers from Chernivtsi this time. Zhytomyr, Vishneva is here, Zhydachev, Kherson. Are you, Olga, are you exactly in Kherson? Right now, Kiev is joining. Again, Kiev is joining. Irpin, Lavriv Lyceum. Yeah, Olga, take care, please. Poltava, Kaniv, Kharkiv. Well, all the country is joining to this event. I'm so happy. 1 minute to go, so that everyone who has the opportunity and the desire to join. Bucha is here. Hello. Ternopil is also here. Kharkiv, Kryukivshina is here, joined to us as well. Dnipro here. Again, Kiev, Mykolaiv came to us. Mezhova, Orzhitsa, Odessa. Hello. Like 30 seconds before we actually start. Even less. So it's 2 p.m. Kiev time. And I'm happy to announce that our Back to School Conference Primary Learners Day officially starts. In the very, very beginning, some basic rules and basic information for you. Give me a moment. Okay, that's it. I'm terribly sorry for this technical moment. So, this conference is being recorded, and you will receive the recording within a week. Not today, but within a week you will receive the recording, as well as a certificate, which you will also receive within a week. So, I would like to remind you about the safety rules. Let's hope that everything will go okay, but if in the place where you are based currently there is an air raid alarm, please make sure that you are in a safe place, that you are totally in safety. Don't worry, you will receive both the recording and the certificate. Your safety is first and foremost. Don't forget to check spam folder. I made a screenshot of Gmail box The letter with the certificate looks like this. Ви отримали сертифікат від Macmillan, and you have this red button, and above the button you see the certificate number, so you copy the certificate number and then paste into the PDF of certificate which you will download. As today it is a primary school day, I would like to just remind if you forgot, or let you know if you didn't know it before, that our key titles for primary school learners are Academy Star second edition and Learning Lens. Both are new books, and in between you can see our favorite new title, which is called ABC Explorers. It is a foundation course about which I will tell you after the first session. I would like also to remind you that on our website, Macmillan Ukraine, in the catalog, you can see the samples, download them, and in the very same place you can find the plans, так, календарно-тематичне планування. And today we have 3 sessions. The first session will start in less than 1 minute. Then in between, I will give you a short overview of ABC Explorers. Then we will have the second session, and then a short overview of Academy Star second edition. And then the third session, and again, a short overview of this course. And I'm starting to keep silence because I have great and huge pleasure to give the floor to Lorena. Lorena is an amazing person, an amazing woman. She is also the author of ABC Explorers. She is also a teacher training trainer. She does a lot for Macmillan Education in terms of writing the course books and doing the workshops. And the first workshop today is from her. Lorena, the audience is all yours.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. Welcome to my webinar. I'm so happy to be here with you. And so I'm going to start sharing my screen. Nice to meet you all. Thank you so much. I'm going to leave my chat on, and I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Let me just move the chat here, because I want to be looking at your comments. Okay, perfect. So can you see my screen? Yes, perfect. Okay, so welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about creating a safe environment for students to learn their ABC. I'm going just to start my time. So, okay. So let's start, okay? I have my chat on because I want to be communicating with you. So today we're going to be talking about how stress affects learning, how we can create a safe, loving environment for students to learn, and how we can teach the English alphabet in fun and multisensory ways. Okay? So my first question is, why do you think it's important to create a safe environment before we start teaching something new like the ABC? So type your comments. I will read them. I want to know why you think it's important. I have my chat here on. So kids feel better? Yes. For comfortable learning? Perfect. It's super important, and you will see in a minute. So that kids feel free to learn. Yes, children are totally involved in work, correct? They can be confident. Yes, absolutely. To provide motivation. Yes, kids should trust us. If they don't feel safe, they can develop. Your mind switch on. Perfect. Yes. So you have a general idea why you think it's important to motivate them to be active. Perfect. Yes, to start with the game. All right. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happens to our little kids the first day of school. Okay, because we have to start thinking about what is going on in their little minds. All right. So for a kid, the first day of school, all right? Imagine it's the first day of school and kids know that it's going to be the first time they're going to have to leave their home, their things, their toys, their mom or their primary caregivers, everything that gives them safety, to go to a place they don't know, with people they don't know. They are scared. And with a teacher that speaks a different language that they don't know. So they feel scared. They feel scared. Some of them will love going to school. We know that. Some of them want to go to school so they don't feel scared. They feel happy. But many of them, they feel scared because they are in a place where they feel unsafe. All right? So what happens to their little brains? When we feel unsafe, our brain senses a threat, like danger, danger, danger. Something is going on. So when they sense danger, they go into survival mode. Yes? So it either activates the fight, the flight, or the freeze response. And you know, this happens, this response, this happens since the brain was developed a long time ago. Yes, a long time ago with cavemen. A long time ago. So imagine as cavemen were walking, you know, there were different animals, wild animals, and suddenly, if they saw, for example, a tiger, the brain needed to know, what am I going to do if I see a tiger? My main objective as a brain is to keep you alive. So if I see a tiger, what do? Either I run, flight. Yes, that's one survival response. Flight. I run away because there is a threat. I freeze. Oh my God, it's coming. I'm just going to stand still. I'm not going to move because I don't want to do anything that will tell the tiger that I am there. I just don't want the tiger to see me. I freeze. I stand still. That is also a survival mode, right? Or if the tiger is approaching you, what are you going to do? You're going to fight for your life. Yes. So now we don't have tigers, but there are other things that our brain sees as threats, and the brain is going to respond the same way it has responded for a very long time. That's why when we feel unsafe and we feel a threat, we activate the fight, the flight, or the freeze response. And that means that we are stressed. And for students, my dear teachers, school can be a threat. Yes? But there's something about feeling stressed. If we feel stressed, my friends, we cannot learn because our brain is too busy in making you survive. So if it is keeping you alive, it's not going to want to learn. Yes? So, what are the signs of stress in the classroom? If our brain turns on the fight response, children are going to misbehave. They're going to have tantrums. They're going to start bothering others. They're going to start moving a lot. Yes? Have you seen this in your class? Right? If the brain activates the flight response, like, let's run, let's go away, there's a threat, I don't want to be here. Children get distracted. In presence, they are there, their body's there, but their mind is not there. It went away. They get distracted. They find excuses to leave. Teacher may go to the bathroom, and then suddenly everybody wants to go to the bathroom. Why? Because they are all stressed, right? Something they are learning is so threatening. They're scared and they just want to leave. That's why everybody wants to go to the bathroom, right? They run away. When I started teaching a long time ago, I used to have a little girl, and every time she found the opportunity, she could go directly to the entrance door to see if her mom was still there. She would run away of my class. So she was super stressed. She didn't want to be there because she didn't feel safe. And I didn't know that at that time. Or they start daydreaming. Yes? If our brain activates the freeze response, children are going to refuse to talk to you. They don't want them to see. They don't want you to see them. They don't. They are like, no, don't talk to me. They don't want to participate. They are shy. Okay? So if we know that when we get our kids in the classroom, they can have these signs of stress, we need to know what to do, because if they are stressed, they cannot learn. So we need to make them feel safe, right? So there's no threat, you're safe here with me. So how can we help our students to manage their emotions? So first of all, we need to tell them, okay, you're feeling, I see, you help them label the emotion. Maybe they already know the names of the emotions, no, the feelings. Help them label the emotion. I see you're feeling angry. I see you're feeling sad. I feel you're feeling scared. Tolerate the emotion. This is very important. Where in your body do you feel what you're feeling? I feel it here. I feel it here in my jaws. I feel it here in my chest. I feel it here in my stomach. Where do you feel the emotion? Okay, and tolerate it. Okay, let it go. Feel it. Because when the body is calm, the mind can calm down too. Okay, this is super important. And after that, after you let yourself feel the emotion, you have to recuperate from the emotion. Okay? How? Well, have them breathe in and out. Okay, everything is okay. You're going to be okay. Talk to them, calm them down. If you're allowed to, and if you want to, hug them. Once they calm down, they can talk and solve problems together with you. Okay? This builds trust. And you were saying in the chat that they needed to feel confident, right? When I asked you the first question. Trust, my dear teachers, is the main ingredient for teaching success. Okay? Now, very quick check right now. I'm going to be reading the chat, And up to here, true or false? When students feel unsafe, they can still learn. True or false? What can you say? Write it in the chat. False, perfect. Correct, false. When they feel unsafe, they cannot learn. They are on survival mode. What are the 3 survival responses when the brain feels threatened? Write it in the chat. What are the 3 survival responses when the brain feels threatened? Fight, freeze, very good. Run, freeze, fight, perfect. Run, freeze, fight, flight, freeze, fight, perfect. Yes. Fight, flight, or freeze, perfect. And the last one. What are the signs of stress in the classroom? What are the signs of stress in the classroom? Write 1 or 2, the ones that you remember. Move a lot. They are shy. Perfect. Noise. What else can you share? They want to go to the bathroom. They escape. They have tantrums. Very good. Not attentive. They run. They hide. They distract others. Bother. They are aggressive. Yes. They misbehave. They don't want to talk. They're loud. Perfect. Yes. Okay, so now you know, now you know when you are with your kids in the classroom, oh, they are just showing signs of stress. It's not that they don't love you, it's just that they feel scared. So what can we do, my dear teachers? Okay, to wrap up this first part, stress affects learning. That's why the first step in teaching is creating a safe environment where students feel safe. Okay? How do we do that? How do we help students feel safe? Number 1, get to know your students. You need to know who you are going to be working with, right? You need to understand their age. Okay, if I have 5-year-olds, how do they learn? 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, how do they learn? What do they like? What are their dislikes? And if they have special needs. And you know, you can do that before starting the school year. Maybe, for example, you can have interviews with parents if you don't have time. Maybe you can ask them to fill out a form to tell you a little bit more about their kids, something they want to share about their kids. If they have special needs, you need to know too, so you can plan accordingly. Yes, for example, likes and dislikes. Well, go into their world, you know, what kind of cartoons they like, what kind of music they like to listen. Because if you know that, maybe they are working on a project and then you play the music that they like. So it's going to be a very nice environment where everybody is happy, working or coloring. Of course, it's going to be a time where they don't have to pay close attention to what they are doing, you know, because it's a heads down time. But they're going to love it. They're going to feel that there is something familiar in the classroom. And so they're going to start feeling safe. They're going to start feeling at home. We need to make our students feel at home. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. What else? Number 2, set rules since day 1. Don't be afraid to set rules, my friends. Yes? Rules make them feel safe because they set boundaries. This is super important to feeling safe, okay? So I'm going to explain you something about rules. Imagine you are walking over a bridge where there is a river flowing, and that bridge doesn't have boundaries. How would you feel? Or imagine there is a cascade flowing and you're over the bridge. no handrails, no handrails. How would you feel? Super scared, right? If there are no handrails on the bridge, you're scared to fall down, right? You're scared. You cannot walk confidently, right? What happens if the bridge has very light handrails? Sometimes they are not, it looks like they are not even there. Sometimes there are, sometimes there are not. You also don't feel confident to walk because the river is flowing quickly. There's a cascade. Imagine. But how do you feel when there are handrails on the bridge and you're walking over the river? It doesn't matter if there is a huge cascade. It doesn't matter if there is a river flowing. You're going to walk confidently. Rules, my dear teachers, are these boundaries, are these handrails. If we want our students to walk confidently in life, we need to set boundaries. If there are no boundaries, if there are no rules, we cannot walk confidently in life. If I set rules, but I forget about them, I cannot walk confidently in life. If there are rules, I can, because I know what I can and I can't do. And the boundaries, they don't have to touch me. They don't have to suffocate me. They're just there. I don't have to touch them either. They're just there to protect me. So don't be afraid of setting rules from day one and be consistent. Okay? Be consistent. Choose the rules you want and be consistent. All right? Create clear routines. That also makes students feel safe because they will know what is going to happen next. Predictability is super important. Why? Because you're going to be speaking in English and they don't understand the language, or they understand a little bit. So most of the things that you're saying, they don't know what you're saying. But if you have a routine and you always do this and then that, they will know what to do and what to expect. Oh, here comes this and then that. So I understand, I have a routine, I know what's coming next. That makes me feel safe, even though I don't understand everything that the teacher is saying. So that is super important. Set your rules, your routines at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end of the class. Choose what you want to do. At the beginning, how are you going to welcome your students? Are you going to be singing a hello song? Are you going to go over the weather, to sing about the days of the week? Are you going to review numbers? Are you going to ask them to read in and out? What are you going to do? Whatever you want to do, just set a routine, make it clear, and be consistent all the time. All right? In the middle, how are you going to ask your students to put away the things? How are you going to give out materials? Are you going to ask some students to help you to give out materials? How are you going to do it? Everybody cannot stand up, because then it's going to be a mess and you're going to lose group control. So what are the routines that you're going to establish to have a good group control? And at the end of the class, what are you going to do? How are you going to ask your students to put everything away, to stand up in a line, to get their school bags or their lunch boxes? How are they going to leave the classroom? Are you going to sing a goodbye song? So establish a clear routine in your class. That's going to make them feel safe. And most importantly, my friends, build positive bonds. I told you, trust is the secret ingredient for teaching success. Show them you love them and you care, so they feel safe to learn with you. This is super important. Remember, they were feeling scared at the beginning to go to school, to learn a new language, to learn a new alphabet. Make them feel safe. If they feel safe, they're not going to feel stressed. You're not going to see those signs of stress in the classroom because they are safe with you. They love you and they're going to listen to you. Make them feel safe. How? Use clear body language and a calm tone. Show them with your body what they need to do. They don't understand a lot of English, so show them with your body. And use a calm tone. If you're like screaming or raising your voice tone, they're going to be scared, like, oh, what's going on? And they're going to show signs of stress. So use a calm tone. Remember, you are the director of the orchestra. You're in control of that classroom. You don't need to raise the voice, okay? Give instructions step by step and model the final product. This also helps them know what you expect from them. So you say, okay, step 1, and you show, this is what we're going to do. You check, you do it, perfect. Step 2, you show, you check, they do it, perfect. And then you tell them, this is what you have to do at the end. You show them, and then they will see, oh, okay, now I know what I have to do. Even though I don't understand everything the teacher says, I know what I have to do at the end. And remember, the attention span rule is about the age by 3 with little kids. So if they are 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, they're going to pay attention for 15 minutes. So plan short and snappy activities every 15 or 20 minutes for your students. So after paying attention for 15 minutes, you wrap up and then you continue. You wrap up, or if you plan an activity that you know that is going to last for 30 minutes, you stop and then you reconnect again and then you continue, all right? If students lose focus, as I was telling you, if you start seeing that they are starting to move, they're feeling stressed. Why? Because they cannot hold on to that anymore. They're feeling tired. Stop what you're doing. If you're explaining something and you see that kids are moving, that they are starting to bother, that they are not paying attention, that they're looking at the mirror, that they're looking outside the window, they're not paying attention, they're not learning. Stop. Fill your classroom. Stop and ask them, okay, everybody, okay, let's stop. Stretch, everybody. Stretch, try to reach the ceiling. Stretch. Breathe. Let's breathe 3 times. There are other things that you can do. Imagine you have a bubble. Imagine you have a candle. Breathe in and out. Less than a minute. Ask them to drink water. It's very important to stay hydrated while we are learning. Sing an action song. For example, okay, everybody, stand up. And then you ask them to stand up. And then you sing a very quick action song. Walking in your place. Everybody's walking. Everybody's. And then they're going to be attentive. They're going to be paying attention. Because all of these strategies are for your students to reconnect and to start paying attention again, okay? And then they are like still jumping in your place. Everybody's jumping, everybody's. You tell them running, clapping, marching, whatever you want. And then sit down. Let's continue. All right? Now, remember, turn mistakes into opportunities for growth. Doesn't matter. We'll make mistakes and we're learning. That's why we are going to school. We cannot be perfect. We're going to make mistakes. That's okay, because if we make mistakes, that means that we are learning. And you know something, when we make a mistake and then we know what we did wrong, and then we know how we can do it better, how we can correct it, we're never going to forget it. We're never going to forget that learning. Yes? Praise strengths and celebrate the effort. Good job, you're doing great. Congratulations. And play, my friends. Play is learning. When the brain experiences joy, it stores the information in the long-term memory. When we're playing, we're so happy that we're going to remember everything that we are learning. Everything, my friends. So play. Don't be scared to play. Quick check. All right, up to here, let's wrap up. Okay. What helps students feel safe in the classroom? Write in the chat. Rules, perfect. What else? Routines, perfect. Set the rules, create clear routines, make them feel safe at home, build positive bonds, games, rules, love. I love it. Friendly environment, rules and games, routines, love, routines, perfect. Trust, rules, love, perfect. Yes. Getting to know your students, setting rules and routines, building positive bonds. Okay? What is the first thing you need to do if students lose focus? What is the first thing you need to do if students lose focus? Stop, perfect. Yes. Stop the activity. You cannot continue, my friends. They are not learning. You already lost them. You have to help them reconnect. All right? Now, true or false? Rules and routines are just about discipline. Is it just about discipline? No. False. Perfect. Yes. False. They provide predictability and safety too. All right? Perfect. Let's continue. Now that we know how to create a safe environment for students to learn, how can we teach them the ABC in ways that are joyful, memorable, and effective? Okay, a little bit about our brain again. Do you remember that I told you that the main objective of our brain is to keep us alive? Again, the cavemen and the tigers. Okay, now, the caveman is walking and it suddenly sees a tiger. It doesn't matter if the tiger is inside a cave. It doesn't matter if the tiger is on top of a tree. It doesn't matter if you just see a tiny little tail of the tiger. You need to know that that is a tiger and you have to act. You have either to run, you have to do something to survive, to protect your life, right? So the brain learned that it doesn't matter the angle of an object, it is still the same object. Yes? It doesn't matter if I see the tiger up, down, on your left, on your right, it doesn't matter. It's still a tiger, right? Because it needs to recognize the tiger and to know what to do to survive, right? This is very important, my friends. Okay. So, if that happens with the tiger, then a pencil is always a pencil. It doesn't matter if the position changes. This is a pencil? Yes. This is a pencil? Yes. This is a pencil? Yes. And this is a pencil, right? Because the brain learned that it doesn't matter the position of an object, it is always the same object, okay? But when the brain sees these letters, it thinks they are the same thing. To the brain, these letters and the M and W and the N and the U, It thinks they are the same thing. So we need to teach the brain they are not to learn the alphabet. We need to teach the brain that the way it has learned for many, many years, at least to read and write, at least to learn the alphabet, is not okay. So the brain struggles. Okay? So this is very important for you to understand, my friends. For the brain, all these are just circles and sticks. And to the brain, everything is the same. So what can we do to teach the Latin alphabet? First of all, we have to understand that our brain was not born to read. Nothing. No, it was not born to read. It was born to keep us alive. So to learn the letters of the alphabet, we need to involve all our bodies, because we learn with our bodies, my friends. We learn with our whole body. If I tell you a recipe, maybe you're just going to listen to it, but maybe you will be able to replicate it, but maybe not. If I tell you a recipe and you see how I'm doing it, maybe you're going to be able to replicate it. But what happens if I tell you the recipe, I show you how to do it, and then you do it with me? You get involved. Are you going to remember better how to do that recipe? Yes, because you're involved. I tell you, you watch me, and then you get involved. Yes? And then maybe you can teach how to do that recipe to another person, because you put all your body, all yourself in learning something. So we need to involve all our bodies in learning. Everything, not just letters. So we need to involve all our bodies. We need to develop strong visual and auditory discrimination skills. We need to develop attention to details. We need to see where the stick goes, where the ball goes, to the left, to the right. Is it tall? Is it short? Where? Attention to detail. And also, because since we're going to be learning letters, we're going to associate a letter to a sound. So we need to develop, okay, how does it sound? Develop auditory discrimination skills as well, okay? And as I told you, include play and music, because that's the way the brain likes to learn best, okay? Now, as I was telling you, letters are built from lines and circles. To notice whether a stick is on the left or the right, if it's tall, short, flip, or rotated, takes time, patience, and repetition. And here I put repetition, repetition, repetition. But it's not just to repeat like a parrot, you know? Like I repeat the same thing every time, the same way, without thinking about it. No, it is to repeat several times and in different ways. So for example, if I am going to teach a letter, I show the letter, I hear the sound, you repeat it, yes, but then I am going to do other things to involve my body several times in different ways. I'm going to learn letter A. I'm going to model it. I'm going to walk on it. I'm going to jump on it. I'm going to look for it. Several times in different ways. And I'm going to explain you in a moment how. But this is very important. That's why we can't show a letter once and expect students to remember it. We cannot just say, okay, students, this is letter A, repeat A, chorally A, individually A. Chorally and individually, perfect. Okay, now let's open the book and trace letter A. We cannot do that. I know we have the books to reinforce what we're doing, and that's great. But we have to do something before opening the book, okay? We have to involve our students, okay? All right, so how do you do it? As I was telling you, introduce the letter with a flashcard. You look and say, for example, okay, look, ah, repeat, ah, everybody, ah. And then I will say, for example, Larissa, ah, Oksana, ah, Olga, ah, chorally and then individually. Yes? Why I'm saying ah? Because we're going to teach the sound. First, the sound of the letter, not the name. We're not going to see A. We're going to say ah, the sound of the letter. Because then when students put together the sounds, they can form words and they can start reading, right? So first we teach the sounds and then we teach the names of the letters. That's also important because it's going to help them with spelling bee and that. But first we teach the letter and how it sounds, okay? Then you have to do an activity to help students feel the shape of the letter before tracing it. We have to involve our whole body. Do you remember? We have to feel it. So you have to do something with this letter A to feel the shape, to feel how it is, how it is formed. So maybe you're going to paste balls around, paste pasta, paste whatever, then feel it, feel the shape. You're going to feel the shape. I'm going to tell you some ideas in a moment, but you have to feel the shape. Because remember, we need to involve our whole body to learn, our whole senses. And then after feeling it with my whole body, I can open the book and start tracing it. And I will do it correctly because now I know. Remember, we learn from, we first use our gross motor skills, yes? And then we can do it with our fine motor skills. Okay, so we learn from big to small, from gross to fine. We cannot ask students to do this movement if first they didn't do this movement, right? So first I have to trace the letters in big, doing the whole movement with my arm, so my brain understands how is the correct tracing and directionality of that letter. First with my body, I walk it, I do it with my body. First with my arm on the board in big, and then I can do this movement, all right? From big to small. And afterwards, we reinforce the letter with a game to wrap up and remember, because remember that the brain likes to play. So we always have to include the game, okay? To recognize or to find letters. Write the letters with noses. Oh, yes, I like that. Write the letters with noses and ears as well. Yes, with the nose, with your elbow. Yeah, and that is fun, you know? I love it. Thank you for sharing, Tatiana. All right. Now, teaching the ABC. I'm going to share some games with you and some activities to teach the ABC. Of course, in the book, there are many more, but I just decided to share with you this. Trace letters on different surfaces. Maybe you can have shoe boxes and put some, whatever you want inside. You can put some sand, you can put some soil, whatever you have handy. And then you're going to ask students, you're going to say, ah, ah, and while you are saying ah, they are tracing the letters in the box. You're going to see that you're going to have like some family words attached to each letter. So you can also say to reinforce vocabulary, apple, alligator. Yes, as they trace. Another thing that you can do, model letters with clay. You're going to give them like a letter like this, for example. Make it fat. So they get the clay, they model, they make like worms with the clay, and then they put them on top of the letter. So they also learn the shape. They model and they put on top. And you can plastify these letters, or you can put them inside bags, Ziploc bags or that. So you can reuse them several times. And this can be part of your materials, model letters with clay. And as they are modeling, you can also walk around as you check. Apple. Alligator. And they're going to be modeling. All right? Letter dictation. You can ask students to go to the board and you're going to say, okay, write letter A. Or you're going to say, or you can make even a game. You can ask students to divide into 2 teams, and you're going to have team A, team B. So imagine this is your board, all right? So here you have team A, and then here you have team B. So you divide your board into 2. And so you're going to have 2 students. And then you say, okay, listen. And so the first one that finishes writing letter A first gets a point. Yes? It can be a game, but they love it. They love to play this. My kids, they love it. All right? So letter dictation. Memory game, again. On your board, you can either put all your cards on the board. So you're going to paste your letters, okay, on the board. Well, obviously, use paper in which you cannot see what's behind, okay? But you're going to put them like this, and then you ask someone to go to the board. You also have 2 teams, and then open up 2 cards, and then they open this one, and for example, this one. Are they the same? No. What letter is it? B. What letter is it? A. Are they the same? No. Okay, turn them around. And then another comes. Turn 2 cards. And then, are they the same? Yes. What letter is it? A. And this one, A. The only thing is that this is a capital A and this is a lowercase a. And then you get your pair and you get a point as well. Okay? Or you can give them small cards and they can play together on their tables with a friend. Okay? Walk on letters. If you can and if you want, you can go outside to the yard and then with chalk, you can draw letters, big letters on the floor, and then you can ask students to walk on the letters as you also say, alligator, okay? Walking, because remember, we're involving our whole body in different ways. You see, repetition, repetition, repetition. You can play hot potato. I love to play hot potato. Do you know how to play? You ask students to sit in a circle. If you don't want to sit them in a circle, they can stay in their own places. You take a bag or a cap or whatever you want, and then you put your letters inside the bag. You play some music, and students have to pass the bag around, okay? Then you stop the music, and the person with the bag has to pull out a letter and say, what letter is it? Alligator, perfect. And then you continue, and then you continue reviewing. They love it, they love it, they love it. Just make sure to stop the music in different places so many students can participate, okay? And you can play this as long as you want. Letter hunt. Before you get your students in the class, hide some letters around the class, maybe under the chairs, behind books, hide them, okay? And you're going to tell them, okay, today we're going to have a letter hunt. And you tell them, okay, there are 5 letters A hidden in the classroom. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go! And then they have to look for letter A and say, I got one. Or maybe you can, now when you start introducing more letters, you can increase the number of letters that you have. And they love it too. Fly swatter. You can do this with a fly swatter. If you don't have a fly swatter, you can just use a stick with something attached to it. But this is another game they love to play. You put the letters on the board, and you can do it also with 2 teams, and then you give them a fly swatter, and they are at the back of the room, and then you tell them, okay, and they run, and they have to hit the correct letter, and if they do it correctly, then they get a point for their team. They love it too. Hopscotch. Also, if you can and if you want, you can go outside and draw a hopscotch in the yard with chalk, and you can draw some letters, and then you can also play hopscotch with the students. Remember, these are all ideas to repeat in different ways the same thing. Okay? Quick check. Okay, true or false? Our brain was born to read. I'm going to check the chat. False. Perfect. Yes. False. Reading is not natural. Can we show a letter once and expect students to remember it and be able to trace it on the book? No. Perfect. No. We need to remember how to trace the letters correctly, so we need to repeat it several times and in different ways. Perfect. And what are some activities and games you can play to teach letters? Write the ones that you like the most, or if you have any other ideas, just write them down there in the chat. Hot potato. I also love hot potato. It's my favorite. Hopscotch, modeling, letter hunt. Perfect. Memory game. Letter hunt, hot potato and hopscotch, walk on letters, fly swatter, hidden letters. Perfect. Tracing. Yes. Perfect. I also wrote trace letters on different surfaces, model letters with clay, play hot potato, etc. And one final question for you, my dear teachers. What is one small action you will try tomorrow to help your students feel safe, joyful, and ready to learn their ABC? Oh, I like that. Letter drawing with semolina, children guess. I love it. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay, now tell me about the small action you're going to start doing to help your students feel safe, joyful, and ready to learn. Smile. Thank you so much. Yes. Sing, love, smile, rules, calm, order of the activities in the class. Be ready to sing, dance, get introduced to each other, hugs, be positive, sing, smile, be confident, smile, jokes, sing and play, treat with a sweet smile. Get to know them better, hugs, move more, learn hunt and singing, sing, circle game, sing and play, smile, love and smile, routines, positive bonds, sing and game, play and smile, stickers, use calm tone, games, fun, play, more stopping. Good. Well, my dear teachers, it was really a pleasure to be here with you today. I really hope that everything I said today was useful, and I really wish you the best in this school year with your students. You're incredible teachers, you know. Thank you so much for joining me, because today, if you took the time to join, it's because you care. So you're caring teachers. Thank you so much, because together we can make a difference in the world. Thank you so much, my dear teachers. I really enjoyed very much being with you today. Thank you.
Lorena, huge thanks from not only from our participants, but from me as well. I'm that happy teacher who already has the thing
that's
that
great.
you wrote for Ukrainian first graders. And I'm also the happy teacher who has the teacher's book to this foundation course, from which you shared just a little bit of everything you put in the both the book for the learners and the teacher's book to accompany and make the life of the teachers much easier, especially for those teachers who are starting grade 1 in less than a week.
Thank you so much. I really hope everything goes well. And thank you so much, my dear teachers.
Thank you, Lorena. Let me share my screen, please.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Dear colleagues, we have a very short overview of what, just a second, of what Lorena wrote for first graders of Ukraine. It is a unique course written from scratch. There is no any alternative or analog or something which looks like what Lorena did. I'm switching into Ukrainian now to give a very short and quick overview of this foundation course. Ми дійсно називаємо ABC Explorers базовий курс або foundation course, тому що це не тільки алфавіт, це не тільки абетка. Це 18 уроків, на яких ми знайомимо наших першачків, починаючи з найпершого уроку, з базовою лексикою, з функціональними фразами і також з абеткою поступово. І крім того, друга частина цього курсу – це 10 уроків CVC фоніксів плюс 1 урок revision. І це ви зараз бачите найперший урок. A bit more English. Now I do understand, Lorena, why on the very first lesson you proposed to introduce 4 emotions. This is what you were talking in the very, very beginning. Тому що ми за ідеєю Лорени з найпершого заняття англійської мови в першому класі ми вибудовуємо ось це безпечне середовище, емоційно безпечне середовище, і для того, щоб наші діти могли сказати, як вони себе почувають, how are you, для того, щоб це не було автоматично, how are you, I'm fine, thank you, how are you feel, I'm happy. Ні, емоції це не тільки happy, це може бути sad, це може бути angry. І ось 4 емоції, які вводяться разом з привітанням на найпершому занятті. І таким чином чергується кожен непарний урок. Це будуть функціональні фрази, аудіювання, говоріння і якась лексика. Причому ця лексика, вона повністю співпадає з тим, що є у нас в програмі. І таким чином за перші, наприклад, 2 місяці ви дасте базу без друкованого представлення лексики, а потім з яким би іншим підручником ви не працювали, який би далі підручник для першого класу ви не взяли, вам буде набагато простіше навчити дітей читати. Ті ж числа від 1 до 10, ті ж назви кольорів, ті ж назви членів родини і таке інше. Це відбудеться набагато швидше, якщо ви спочатку дасте їм ось цю усну основу. А кожен парний урок – це якраз те, про що сьогодні розповідала дуже багато Лорена. Це навчання абетки, алфавітні слова, літера, звук. Причому, як Лорена правильно все продумала, я просто I'm excited about how you propose to work with the alphabet and with letters. Спочатку ми робимо певні речі, не відкриваючи книжку, і лише потім ми її відкриваємо, і тоді там робимо tracing. І ще є одна річ, яка вирізняє даний курс. Ми на початку говорили про те, що мозок у нас що? Не хоче вчитися, не хоче думати. А дитячий мозок взагалі, він хоче пізнавати, але не хоче запам'ятати. Ось тут є завжди такі завдання, які спонукають дітей спостерігати, помічати і думати. Ось такі explore, завжди на непарних уроках є таке завдання, має назву Explore. Ви бачите дівчинку, яка дивиться, і завдання з попереднього заняття, тобто там ми вчили ABC і певні алфавітні слова. А тут ми на сторінці маємо знайти за фрагментом те саме, що зображено у вправі. Тобто тут ці вправи розвивають і когнітивні здібності, і ще й дрібну моторику. Крім того, Лорена побудувала цей foundation course таким чином, що самі активності передбачають, що іде постійне повторення того, що було раніше. Наприклад, на цьому уроці у нас основна мета – вивчити назви 5 кольорів. Але паралельно ми повторюємо і алфавітні слова, які були на усіх попередніх уроках, на кшталт car, or bowl, or jar, or kangaroo. Ми повторюємо числівники, які були 4 уроки перед цим, так, від 1 до 5. І так, щоб ви мали уявлення про те, що собою являють сторінки, де у нас CVC Phonics, ось так виглядають завдання, вони досить різноманітні, і знов-таки підкреслюю, що в багатьох сучасних підручниках є уроки, де навчається і відбувається навчання методом фоніксів. Фонікси, набір фоніксів, він всюди абсолютно однаковий. І тому, наприклад, у вашому підручнику ви вивчаєте фонікс Е, ви можете доповнити ті вправи, які є у підручнику, тим, що пропонується у ABC Explorers. Що є для вчителя? Тобто для учня, ви зрозуміли, для учня є ось така чарівна книжка, в книжці є код, ось тут на першій сторінці, на обкладинці тут є код, і за цим кодом у дітей електронна версія даного підручника з вбудованим аудіо. А у вчителя є, звісно, як завжди, більше, ніж у учня. Окрім того, що є книга для вчителя, і я за секунду покажу фрагмент, щоб ви переконалися в тому, наскільки це багата книга для вчителя. Флеш-картки, аудіозаписи, аудіоскрипти, і у вчителя також в електронній версії вбудоване аудіо і інтерактивні вправи. І ось так виглядає фрагмент, я зробила такий скріншот-нарізочку з того, як виглядає книга для вчителя. Тобто вона інтерлівд, і те, що ви бачите, це план лише одного уроку. Ви бачите на 2 сторінках, це план одного уроку, ретельно прописаний. Lorena, I love the first phrase in the first lesson, in every lesson plan. There is one first phrase which repeats every lesson. Greet your learners with a warm smile. I love this. This is a very simple thing, simple and obvious, but every time you open the teacher's book, you see, remember, and however you feel today, however your night was, however, whatever your mood was, maybe someone spoiled your mood. But when you come to the class, you open before the lesson, you open the book, and the first thing you see in the lesson plan, greet your learners with a warm smile. It is very simple, and it is very much about love.
Exactly. Exactly, because your kids are waiting for you. They are expecting you. Once they love you, they want you to be there. So you just have to put everything aside and know that maybe you are their safe place at school, you know? So that's why you always have to greet them with a big smile and tell them, I'm here for you, I love you, you're going to be okay. And then your class is going to be a success.
Книга для вчителя також містить ось ці рутини, про які говорила Лорена, про те, рутини, як презентувати лексичні одиниці, як презентувати літери абетки. Купа ідей, це кілька сторінок ідей Learning through movement. Це цілий банк ігор, і Лорена поділилася лише кількома з тих, які насправді є у книзі для вчителя. І наостанок, перш ніж ми перейдемо до нашої другої частини, від нас обох, від автора і від Macmillan Ukraine, ми хочемо побажати вам вирішити все ж таки почати навчальний рік в першому класі з ABC Explorers для того, щоб дати вашим дітям positive start to learning English. І на самий останок цієї сесії я запущу невеличке опитування. Мені здається, у мене вийде це зробити, і я його знайду, це опитування. Якщо ви хочете потримати цей підручник в руках, погортати його, попитати нас, методистів, ми готові для вас це зробити. Це абсолютно безкоштовна опція. І, можливо, потримавши таку книжку в руках, This Foundation Course ABC Explorers, ви дійсно захочете розпочати навчальний рік саме з цієї книжки, для того, щоб потім перейти і працювати за будь-яким іншим підручником для першого класу, будь-то підручник нашого видавництва або книга для вчителя, тільки коли ви придбаєте дітям підручники. Вона існує виключно в електронному вигляді. Lorena, again, many thanks both for today's talk, full of very fresh, very simple and very useful ideas, and for the book you created for us.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy that you like the book. I hope it is useful. I hope that it helps to make your life better. It helps your students learn the alphabet, and I'm here for you anytime that you want. Thank you so much. I'm here anytime to support you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Now it's high time. It's 3 p.m. We are perfect in time management. It's high time to give the floor to our second speaker, whom many of you already know very well. Those of you who are for the first time with Macmillan, I will introduce. It's Gosha Malgorzata Mroz. Gosha, sorry for mispronouncing your full name.
It's perfect. It's perfect, really. It's good.
And we started with how we start grade 1, September, October, and now Gosha will share lots of ideas. I know she teased me a lot, so I'm looking forward to Gosha's ideas, which are always very fresh, very simple, very practical, and very useful. Gosha, the audience is all yours.
All right. Thank you. No pressure, right? All right. Thank you very much and welcome everyone. It's so good to see you. I probably already know some of you. For those of you with whom I haven't had a chance to meet yet, it's very nice to meet you. I'm glad that you are here. And I want to ask you to, warm up your hands, because in a moment, I'm going to ask you to write something in the chat window. So we're going to make it a bit more interactive as we can on Zoom. Let me just share my screen so you can also see what I have prepared for you. All right, let's see if it works. You should be able to see my screen now, so I hope you do. Let me also open the chat window and move it to the side so I can also see what you are writing, because it's very, very important to me. I want to communicate with you, and I want to know your opinions and also your ideas so we can exchange them. I hope you're all doing fine. I hope the weather is also fine. I'm currently in Hamburg, where I live, and it's really cold. It's sunny, but it's cold, so the summer is over, which reminds me that soon, in a couple of days, well, the summer is over, but also, is the beginning of the new school year. So I hope you feel ready. I gotta say, I'm not ready yet, but we still have a couple of days. So, yeah. So today we are going to talk about the fun formula. So balancing accuracy, fluency, and joy in our lessons. And I think you already have an idea what I'm going to be talking about, but in case it sounds a bit mysterious, do not worry. I've got you. We're going to explain everything step by step, and I'm going to show you some examples. So I hope you have already warmed up your hands. I see a lot of people writing hellos and writing their cities, so that's good. Stay at your keyboard because I have a task for you. I would like each one of you to imagine your perfect lesson. So, from the teacher's perspective, all right, from your perspective. So, this kind of a lesson that you have, and then you go to the teacher's room, or maybe you go back home, or you meet with your friends. Many of them are probably fellow teachers, because that's what happens when we're teachers. We hang out with other teachers, and you just go, you know what? I had this great lesson today. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of my students. I'm in a good mood. I'm energetic. I want to go back to work and have more lessons like that. And I would like each one of you to write, well, one, two, or three key things that you want to happen in your perfect lesson. And it can be something more general, like, for example, we played the favorite games with my students, our favorite games. Or you can also be a bit more specific if you want. It's entirely up to you. But I want you to keep it positive. Okay, so let's try not to write things like, my students were not terribly loud today. Okay, let's try to keep it positive. So I would like to get just some examples from you. So one, two, or three things that you want to see in your lesson. And I see active children. Oh yeah, we want them to come and to participate in the lesson. And we also have singing. I personally love it. And playing games. It's fun for the kids. It's also fun for us. It's an energetic lesson, right? So it's a good one. Someone wrote the perfect combination of active and passive activities, and I 100% agree with it. I also like to play with the energy and have more static moments in the lesson. Also, not only for the students to provide an opportunity for them to focus, but also for me, because we don't want to get overstimulated, and we don't want our students to get overstimulated. A lot of questions. Isn't that a dream lesson when your students actually say, oh, really? That's interesting. Can you tell us more? Lovely, lovely. Like ideal world, isn't it? Curious students. Absolutely. Absolutely. Understanding the material. Oh, yeah. Right. We want them to know what to understand what we're talking about, because we're talking about it in order for them to learn it, right? So that's absolutely it. But also establishing a rapport. I absolutely agree. Having a good relationship, good rapport with our students. We spend so much time with them, and they spend so much time with us. So I also absolutely agree that this emotional aspect of our lessons is equally important. All right. And also someone said outdoors, outside. Yeah, maybe not in winter though. I mean, I know the students like it. I like to stay in winter when it's cold, but of course, some outdoor activities. This is also cool when we have a chance to do it. Okay. Thank you very much for your answers. If you still have some more ideas, feel free to share them, because everyone can see these answers, so we can also get some inspiration from each other. And as you can see, some answers are really, really unique. Some of them repeat, and understandably so, because there are certain elements that I think all of us want in our lessons. And usually when I ask this question, and I do ask it quite a lot, I hear or I see as follows. So usually, teachers would say, and I also say, that they want their students to have fun. And I also want my students to have fun. Again, having fun is quite a general statement, right? But I think it means like I want my students to be engaged. I want the mood to be positive. I want them to trust me so we can establish this good rapport. This is all my definition of having fun. Right. So, and having fun, it can be something more active, more TPR based. It can be something more static and creative. Drawing can also be fun, or listening to a story can also be fun. But generally, by fun, I understand that the children are engaged and they leave the lesson happy. Right. And I think we can agree on that. Also, most teachers would say that they want the kids to improve their fluency. And again, by fluency, I mean speaking with quite a lot of confidence, right? Like we will not expect 6-year-olds to, speak fluently about what they did yesterday in, past simple and throwing in some past continuous. We're not there yet. But, on their level, fluency would be saying one sentence, saying one phrase with confidence in relevant situations and in relevant situations. And this is ultimately what I want to get from my students. I don't expect it to happen immediately, but we teach the language so they can communicate, right? Of course, we want our students to learn new words and phrases. And one of you mentioned the chat window. I'll have to scroll a lot to find it, but one of you mentioned academic achievement. So this is what I understand by, learning new words and phrases and learning them correctly and learning how to build them. And then on top of that, this is also quite common, the students make few mistakes. Now, mistakes are absolutely inevitable, but the fewer the better, right? So this is a perfect lesson. And of course, like all the things you have said, they're absolutely valid and also relevant. I'm just trying to narrow it down a little bit because whether we want it or not, all of these great things will not happen within one lesson. It's always a bit of a gamble, and it's always like trading something for something, I think. But all of these things that I listed on the slide and all of these things that you have mentioned, they matter a lot, absolutely, all of them. And we indeed do want our students to first and foremost learn new language so then they can use it. And we want them to learn it while having fun. And then we want them to use it correctly. And while doing so, we want them to speak fluently and with confidence. Which brings me to the next slide, which is pretty much, I think, all of us at some point when we enter the classroom and we open the book and we might feel a little bit lost, we might feel a little bit overwhelmed, and maybe sometimes we feel a bit hopeless because there's so much to consider. And, there are so many things I want my lessons to be, and there are so many things I want to teach. And there are so many exams I have to prepare my students to. And I think we generally tend to put quite a lot of pressure on ourselves. I definitely know that I do. And it's like active work on my side to take off this pressure and to understand that it's not all or nothing. And we have to learn to balance these things. So in today's session, we will take a step back and we will look at what really happens in our lessons. And we are going to look at it from the teacher's perspective. So from your perspective, from my perspective, but also from the student's perspective, because they will be very different. And sometimes I forget about it and I have to remind myself that what I see in the book is not what my students see in the book. So I will show you how you can balance the accuracy and fluency and fun in English lessons with your young learners. And one thing that I want to establish at the very beginning, because I'm using these words like fun, accuracy, fluency, and so on, And I believe we have already defined them. But all of these three things, I believe, are first of all interconnected. So, like, one cannot really occur without another, and one influences the other, and they're also interdependent, right? So, the better the accuracy, the higher the fluency, and the more fun we have, the easier it is to practice accuracy because we have our students super engaged in the lesson and in the activities. So, just to give you an example, a student who comes to the lesson and has no fun because well, sometimes it's not on us. Sometimes the student is just having a very bad day at the age of 6. Small things can escalate quite fast. But let's say it's not this external factor. Let's say the student comes to the lesson and just has no fun, finds an exercise, maybe, I don't want to say boring, but like uninteresting, not very much into it. The student will not be engaged in the lesson. And without this engagement, there's little chance they will actually manage to stay focused and therefore to learn the new language. So if we don't sort of like win the students at the very beginning of the lesson, then, or a beginning of an exercise or a stage of the lesson, then, sometimes it turns into a bit of a lost cause, to be honest. So the student without this fun factor will not be engaged, therefore not focused, therefore will struggle with learning the language because will be, for instance, distracted. And then without learning the language in a meaningful and relevant way, they won't be able to use it fluently. They won't be able to use it to react to certain situations. So that's what I mean when I say that all these things are connected with each other. All right. So we have already agreed that engaging our students emotionally at the very beginning of the lesson or a stage or an exercise, but generally we want to start with something like, that grabs the attention of our students. So this is absolutely crucial. So to engage the students emotionally, we need to provide them with an opportunity to speak, to talk about one thing that they always want to talk about. And I wonder if any of you has an idea what this thing is. One thing every student wants to talk about, and is the same for all students. So I wonder if you can guess. I see some thumbs up. Let's see if you have some ideas. It's not a tricky question, but of course it's an insanely difficult question. But well, okay, it's an extremely easy question because all of you knew it immediately. Of course, they want to talk about themselves, and children have this natural desire to do so. So as soon as we provide the right topic or the context, if you prefer this word, that our students can immediately relate to, and that they have something to say about even before they learn to do it in English. Um, so as soon as we do it, we're actually going to have their attention, and it's going to be much easier to build this fun element, right? Because they already have the knowledge, they have the experience, right? So I wonder if you could give me some examples of topics that your students are excited about and would like to talk about a lot, and especially their experience in these areas in their native language, right? Not in, okay, family, pets, absolutely. Oh, toys. Yeah, I can also talk about it for a long time. Games. Also, yeah, adults also talk about it. Absolutely. I could talk about board games, till the cows come home, really. But yes, family, pets, hobbies. So like different games that they might play on a computer maybe, but also at a playground. Food. That's the best topic, right? Some pictures, or maybe holiday pictures, or maybe some cartoons also, computer games. So see, look how many of these topics repeat. And actually, if we put them together, it's not going to be a list of 100 topics, right? What children relate to and what children at the age of 6 are excited about is actually not that vast, right? It comes down to certain topics that they know from the books, they know from their favorite cartoons, and so on, so forth. So it comes as no surprise that oftentimes the job of choosing the relevant context and choosing the relevant topic has been done for us. Because if you take modern, up-to-date course books, they will already provide lessons built around topics like, animals or family or food, all of these things that you have mentioned before you even saw this slide, right? And clothes and, games. So being able to do certain things and so on and so forth. And within these topics, you will also, again, in good books, you will have the language and certain grammatical structures and vocabulary that just come naturally, right? So if you have the topic of games, you're not necessarily going to teach colors because it's not natural, but you are going to teach the names of sports, for instance, and you are going to teach the structure I can't, right? It's just natural, right? So yeah. So we have the topics chosen, and our topic is, let's say we're going to pick one topic. Our topic is relevant, adjusted to the interests of our students, and they already have a lot to say about it. So the fun should already start in a moment. Let's talk a little bit about the language that we're going to teach our students, because to my experience, this is the tricky part. I think there are a lot of good games and that you can play with your students. A lot of you already have great games that your students love. You've got maybe this one game that always works, right? So the fun element, I'm not saying it's easy, but we usually have some things just up our sleeve. We can also, improvise sometimes when we have some time left to kill. Probably hardly ever, to be honest, because the lessons are short, but still. Maybe when we are a substitute teacher for another class. But the language, now, this is a little bit tricky. Now, there are different theories of cognitive development of human beings, and there are some differences between them. But generally speaking, I'm generalizing now, so also bear that in mind. But whichever theory you embrace, there is either little or no doubt that children until a certain age, which is more or less 11, 12 years old, roughly, they simply don't have enough cognitive resources to understand abstract concepts. So, an abstract concept like grammar, the children are capable of understanding them or this concept roughly around the age of 11, 12. But you can see the arrow in the slide. You are somewhere between the second and the third stage, right? The very end of the second stage, using symbols and like learning to use a language, the native language, or language in general, right? And communicate with a language. And the third stage, which is a bit more logic, understanding thoughts and feelings, empathy, and so on and so forth. So this is where we are, which means that unlike with teenage students, we cannot simply present the rule and say, okay, so here's present simple. Now go have fun and create sentences. This is just not going to work. And even though to us, like adding into a verb, like I am swimming, I am running, it seems simple enough, right? It's just 3 letters that you attach to every word in pretty much the same manner. To our students, they're capable of learning the word running, swimming. They're capable of learning the sentence, I'm running, I'm swimming, but they're not necessarily at this age capable of applying it as a rule, of understanding the rule. And if it's actually a very big if, but even if you were lucky enough to get a class of child prodigies who are actually super super smart, way ahead of their age, and they just like get it like that, even if it happened, which is practically impossible or super unlikely, but even if you had a student like that, it doesn't change the fact that this would not excite a child. You might have a super smart child who is capable of understanding certain things earlier, but it doesn't mean that the child is going to care about it. It's not like the child is going to sit and get excited about adding ing to verbs. I think you can agree with me. There will be no response on the emotional level, right? The kids don't care about it, even if they understand it, which is unlikely in the first place, but they wouldn't. So when we talk about accuracy, And by accuracy, I mean like teaching grammars, grammar and certain expressions, and teaching the language, practicing the language, maybe drilling it a little bit and learning how to use certain structures. We need to remember that our perspective as teachers is very, very different to the perspective of a 6-year-old. So our role as teachers is to weave grammar and language and expressions that we want to teach into the kids' natural desire to express themselves. So we want to focus on making our students excited and eager by talking about their little universes. And by this, I understand their room, their classroom, maybe their local playground, or I don't know, the flat of their grandparents. This is what they're excited about, not necessarily using there is, there are for descriptions, right? And they might want to say which foods are yummy and which foods are yuck. They don't care about using likes and dislikes, like, like, don't like to express preferences. This is what we see. This is not what they see. To them, they're just saying, yay or nay, right? They're talking about food. They're not talking about grammar. And also, they might want to brag about how well they can ride their new bike. And, now they can also ride uphill. But they definitely do not want to talk about modal verbs to express ability, right? So again, this is what we see. This is not what our students see. So we have to listen to what our students say and provide the language to communicate it in English. And when I say language, I mean all these things I have just mentioned. So the grammatical structure. So there is, there are, like, doesn't like, likes, doesn't like, or can, can't, right? So this is what we provide and we are aware of, but our students actually aren't, and they don't have to be, and they will not be until they actually develop more abstract thinking skills, which most likely will not happen anytime soon. So when we talk about accuracy, when we talk about practicing grammar, please do remember about it, because I personally used to forget about it sometimes, that certain things our students want or don't want to do, but that certain things also they are or aren't capable of doing. So just to sum it up a little bit, we have to provide the right topic. This has been done for us, so should be easier. And then we have to see the language we teach from the child's perspective. And only then can we expect our students to communicate fluently for their level, to not even understand when to use phrases, but simply to use them when the time comes. Keep that somewhere in back of your mind, because we will come back to it. But now, because I like to stay realistic in our sessions, I would like us to go back to our classroom. Let's say it's Monday morning, so we still have a couple of days to prepare. And you enter the classroom and you think to yourself, like, you're really empowered. You've listened to some great talks and you've done some great lesson preparation. You've, dusted some great ideas, so they're prepared in your folder. And you think to yourself, okay, so in our theory, I want to teach my students how to communicate in English correctly while having fun. I have the right materials and the right topic, tick, right? And I have the language that I want to practice, tick. And the kids, they already know maybe 1 or 2 words, so, or even if they don't, it's fine, right? I'm going to teach them, like, first maybe 2, 3, 5 words, and then this will be my starting point. So I have it all prepared. So how do I do it now? Because you know all the theory, right? You know it, I know it, we all know it, but it doesn't change the fact that, you come to the classroom, you open the book and you go like, what now, right? We've all been there, really, all of us. So how to put it all together, right? And what exactly can I do with these great materials that I've got? The book is really great and it makes my my life and my work, my job much easier. But still, how do I sort of combine the things I want my lesson to be, the great materials that I have, and the outcome that I expect? I'm going to show you a couple of examples. Okay, so we're going to be very specific. I'm going to show you what I see when I open this book on Monday morning. So let's have a look at the lesson that will be built around can and can't for ability. And I will show you what you can do, making sure that you have fun, your students have fun, you also have fun. But the communication is still at the very heart of my lesson, because with this fun element, we're having practice accuracy, I want the communication to be there, and I want it to be very clearly visible and audible, I think, too. So we are aiming for fluency, but we're secretly also, teaching grammar, right? And when I say grammar, I generally mean language expressions, right? It doesn't always have to be grammar. It can be some chunks that you want to teach, but let's call it, I'm going to call it grammar too. So yeah, let's say the language and the focus is can and can't for ability. And it's pretty much always presented in the context of sports, because it just makes sense, right? So you're going to have sports or playing. Sometimes maybe you're going to have a lesson about animals and what certain animals can or can't do. Like, I don't know, a bird can fly, a dog can run, for example, and a monkey can jump, right? But usually 9 out of 10 times it would be sports. So let's take sports. Let's just jump right into it because it just makes a lot of sense. So I look at the course book, and I always look at how it's structured, because each course book might, I mean, most of them would have a different idea behind how they're structured. And there's always ideally, there's always a thought behind it. So I look at, in this case, Academy Stars, and I see that first I have a vocabulary lesson. So first we're going to learn some vocabulary, and we're going to do it through repeating, but also through some songs, and some games with flashcards. So that's going to be my first lesson. There's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of TPR in this lesson. And then, vocab, it's a little bit easier to learn because they are just separate items, but then we have to put them into sentences. So then I see that in the next part of the unit, in the next lesson, I have a story. And in the story, my students are already exposed to the target language. So you can see in the story, the structure is presented many, many times. And I really like this approach, starting from a bit more passive learning, especially when it comes to grammar, especially when it comes to longer phrases, but also vocab and the songs that we use to introduce the vocabulary. So I like to start with this more passive learning, where, like, at this point, I don't expect my students to use the language yet, but I need them to understand it. And because I have chosen the context well, or not me personally, but the authors of the book, even without understanding English in this case, your students will understand the story because of the pictures and because the phrases they use in the story are the very same phrases that your students use in the playground when they speak Ukrainian, right? It's going to be the same phrases. So they understand, they don't have to understand the language, but they know what the kids are saying because it's literally the same thing, right? So without understanding the language, your students can already understand the story, and they hear the language while already understanding what is going on. All right. As I said before, I want to keep my students truly engaged, and I want to give them the real experience. I want them to be fully immersed in the topic so they can stay engaged and they can really emotionally be present in the tasks and respond emotionally to all the fun activities that we do. That should also boost their confidence to then, having practiced certain structures with more eagerness, produce them more independently, right? So fun, accuracy, fluency. So in the story, we have 3 scenes in which children can do some activities like kick a ball or throw or catch or jump, but there is also Bot, another character, and Bot can't do these things. Bot can only sing. So since listening to the story and also answering my questions about it. I'm going to ask like, oh, who's there? How many children? What color? I'm going to, you know, like introduce it, play around it a little bit. But listening to the story is a bit calmer part of the lesson. There's not much energy. There's engagement, right? But not so much energy. I would like to energize the students a little bit and make them move a little bit in order to also, you know, maintain a higher energy level, but also to build associations between what they say, what they hear, and how they move, right? So we're going to involve more senses into this activity. So I am going to divide the class into two groups. We're going to have the children group and the bot group. So children, bots. And first, we're going to listen to the story again. And when the students hear, but only hear about the children in the story, the children group, so half of the class, the children group has to either stand up or if they're already standing, mime the activity, pretending that they can do certain things. Now, when they hear about bot, like for example, oh no, bot can't kick a ball, the bot group has to mime the activity, but in a very clumsy way. And this is usually the funny part, right? Because they have to pretend they're kicking a ball in a very clumsy way and they do not succeed. And children love to, you know, they have a lot of fun here. You know, they love to do it. But then there is the last part in which a bot can sing. So then the bot group has to sing. Now, this is the first stage. And you see, it is actually very guided because, first of all, children only respond to what they hear. And also, they have heard the story before. They understand it. We talked about it. It's not the first time they hear it. And there is also additional support here because it's clearly said, like, you know, like when bot can't do something, they will hear the word bot, right? So this is also extra support. They don't only have to rely on can, can't. They also hear like the name bot. So then it means that the bot group has to be active. If there is no bot, then the children group has to be active. So that's the first stage. And then I'm going to do the same activity, but this time I want to make it a bit more difficult, right? So it's going to be the next stage of the same activity. And this time I am going to use flashcards and I will be saying sentences. And this time, when I show a flashcard and I say, I can jump, then the children group has to mime. But if I say, I can't throw, then the bot group has to be active. So in the first stage, we know that children can do everything, bots can't do anything except for singing. Here, they have to listen more carefully. They really have to listen for the target language for this can and can't, right? So you see, so we already, you know, take it one step further. And then, of course, I'm going to change the groups, right? So, okay, you are children, now you are bots and you are children. So each student has a chance to show something like a pro or show something, mime something a bit more clumsily because they love it. I swear, they just love pretending they can't do something because it's funny. All right. Now, I really like bringing this story to life. So we take what we have listened to, what we have watched, and now we bring it to life. And I do it in order to activate the language presented in the stories, even if it's still really, really passive in a way, because at this point, the exercises are very reactive. Now, if you have a stronger group, of course, let the children say the sentences. But at this point, what we're doing is we're still providing a lot of exposure. And I strongly believe that we cannot expect our students to speak accurately, let alone fluently, if we don't provide them enough examples and enough exposure in the first place. So this is what we're doing. We're doing it in a fun way. So that two things happening simultaneously, right? We're having fun, but at the same time, we're preparing the students for this part of the lesson in which we are going to practice accuracy. Okay, so now let's move forward and we are going to have a look at the next lesson in which I will do a bit more formal practice. And this time, you know, we had fun. We have already exposed our students to our target language. Maybe they even repeated some phrases, right? Not very mindfully, but still they're kind of like, you know, they've heard it, they've mumbled it, right? So they're already a bit further. And now we're going to focus on accuracy a bit more. But of course, we are not forgetting the fun element. Now, I open the book and I see that it presents the rules of grammar, or rather, I mean, it's written here, grammar focus, but it's mostly about, like, you know, how to create sentences using a given structure. And at the very beginning of the session, I said that first graders are not yet cognitively able to understand abstract concepts. You probably remember that. So, and I still stand by it. I have not changed my mind, but I want to clarify it. Like, I do not think that presenting the rules is inherently wrong. I just think that it has to be done right. So when I see something like that as a teacher, as an adult, I see, okay, so we have a subject and a modal verb, and then a bare infinitive in a positive and a negative form. And then I can also create contractions. So cannot turns into can't. Everything is clear. But again, because the children are cognitively not there yet, what do you think they see here when they look at it? Do you have an idea? Maybe you can write it. Have to take a sip of water. So maybe you can write your ideas. As a child who probably can't even read that well yet, if at all, what do you think they see? Do they see the rules of grammar? Do they know what grammar is? Have they ever heard this word? What do you think they might be seeing here? I am so curious. Just sentences, in a way, but I would argue that a child might not really understand the concept of the sentence yet. All right, we do it. See, that's the trick. It's very, very difficult for me. Like, it's still very difficult to forget about the things that I know and try to be a 6-year-old for a moment. It's super, super difficult. But I see that we have blocks like Lego and colors. We do have different colors, colorful blocks. Absolutely. That's exactly what they see. There's a big chance that this is their first association. And it definitely is mine. You know, the kids play with blocks, all sorts of blocks, even before they go to school. And there is also an animated video in which these blocks go together with this lesson. So they are going to see it, right? Maybe they will see a train also. Fair enough. That's also fine. Train made of cars. It's also sort of blocks. And some of you might actually have a box of building blocks in your classroom. So if you have it, you're lucky. Oh, Minecraft, yes. Yeah, they're very familiar with the concept of Minecraft too. So if you have these blocks in your classroom, you can use them. So you can watch a video that this exercise comes with, and then use the blocks to reenact the story, the video, by putting the blocks together. And you can, it's enough to simply use colors. You don't have to use words yet. You can, for example, stick some papers to these blocks, right? Or maybe if they're plastic and you have a whiteboard marker, you can even write it, or you can simply rely on the colors. But if you don't have these blocks, which is also fine, I mean, I did not always have building blocks in my classroom. You can simply use some old boxes. I'm going to show you. I have a cat, so we buy a lot of cat food, which comes in boxes. So I'm never short of boxes, ever, because we have too much of it, right? So I use cat food boxes. And you use scotch and plastic sleeves, right? You cut the plastic sleeve open so it's easy to slide something inside. You attach it with the scotch, and you have your building blocks, so it looks something like that. And then I use plastic sleeves so I can reuse the blocks. I have one set of blocks, and then I can put flashcards inside. I can write subjects depending on whether we practice the first person singular or maybe the third person singular, right? Depending on the topic. And I also have a red and a blue piece of paper for positive, negative sentences. So yeah, so that's just it. And then with this, you can actually recreate the video, and instead of using it to present grammatical structures, that's our perspective, you you show it to the children so they can play with the blocks and put them in a correct order, just like they might in books for children sometimes that are for very little children. I have just spent a week with a 4-year-old, and we were also playing quite a lot. And in the book, sometimes there was like, okay, so Kasia is putting blocks together. Are they in a correct order? And you had to compare, right? On a very simple level, of course, but you know, it's kind of like a similar thing. So again, the concept is already there. The students are familiar with it. So yes. So one more thing I wanted to mention, sorry, with the building blocks is that the value that I see in such exercises and in such visual ways of introducing the rules of grammar and, you know, building sentences, even though my students don't really need to understand it yet. To them, it's enough if it's just fun, just putting blocks together. Is that I am already from day one familiarizing my students with how grammar works. Again, they do not understand the concept of grammar yet, and they will not for the next couple of years. That's fine, but we're sort of coding this message in their heads that grammar is not just random things, it's in a way organized, right? We don't have to say it. I mean, they will not understand, but then at some point when they are, let's say, in the 4th or 5th grade, when they start understanding more abstract concepts, they'll be like, okay, so this is the rule, you add ing to the verb, but you know, in the back of their head, they already have these blocks connecting together, right? It's not that they have to understand what's going on. It's just that they get used to, through fun and through play, they get used to how it works, right? So yeah, so then it's in my opinion the best way to present certain rules that are not, our students are not yet capable of understanding, but they will already sort of like feel them, right? That's why I love it, and I highly recommend just a couple of boxes, and you can reuse it with all your classes for a couple of years, make them robust, so then you can reuse them for many years, maybe even share it with other teachers. So let's look at what happened here. We first used the target language passively by engaging the students in a story, right? So we have the fun element, there is a story, there are some sound in the story, and then we boosted the energy level with more fun when we were playing children and bot, and the game was funny, the children were pretending to be clumsy, right? So we have first more static but interesting exposure. Then we keep on exposing our children to the content, the language, but in a bit more active way. And only then did we smuggle more abstract concepts like building blocks or grammar from our perspective, but in a very relatable form of building blocks, right? So you can see the whole process here. So in other words, and this is probably the most important thing to me, we prioritized the children experiences and what they relate to, what they understand, and what matters to them. And when we have already won their attention and engagement, #fun, then we got their emotional response, and we smoothly, because they liked it, so they got emotionally engaged, and then we smoothly moved on to showing the idea behind what they're already saying in English, instead of, you know, presenting abstract rules and then expecting the students to use them in communication, right? You see, we flipped it completely, right? They first used it and then understood it like, you know, to a certain degree, but first we used it and then we kind of like deconstructed it a bit, rather than learning the rules. Hey, you put the blocks together, so now create a sentence. They already know how to create the sentences prior to actually understanding the grammar behind it. Again, you know, understanding grammar behind it, I mean building blocks, right? Okay, so you may now be thinking to yourself, like, hang on, okay, so what about fluency? Because we had fun, we practiced accuracy, but we're supposed to balance accuracy with fluency at the same time. Like, I need my students to use the language in communication now. And you're right, and don't worry, I've got you covered. Right, let's have a look at what we can do next. So my students are already familiar with the structure of can and can't. They've listened to the story, they played around it, they had a lot of fun, they played with the building blocks. So we're coding this grammatical concept also in the form of building blocks. So now I'm going to think how my students would use this language that we have just practiced in their natural environment. And a couple of things come to mind. So I can, for instance, imagine my students on a playground on a warm Sunday, or not so warm Sunday, meeting their friends. And you know that playgrounds, they tend to get a bit hectic and crowded and messy. So, you know, if there's a lot of children, it might be difficult to find your friend there. So I can totally see my students saying, "Can you see Tom?" in their native language, right? Like, "Can you see Tom? I came here with Tom," or "Tom was supposed to be here. Where is he? Where is Tom? Can you see Tom?" Or I can imagine my students having maybe a trip to a park, like a walk or a picnic, or being somewhere out there in the nature and saying, "Can you hear a bird?" Right? And of course, you will come up with multiple examples here. There are a lot of things, a lot of situations in which this structure can be used. But again, I don't really think that, and feel free to disagree with me, but I don't think it's an endless list. I think certain phrases are more likely to be used in given contexts than in different contexts, right? So again, it might seem like, okay, so now my students can use it in so many different situations. Yes, but they're 6 or 7 years old. So actually not yet. It's actually quite a limited list, I believe. All right, so let's pick one structure here and focus on it and make it meaningful. And it's no coincidence that I have, given these examples, because this is what I see in my book. So actually, you know, I see this lesson in which my students drill questions and short answers, and then they play a little game in pairs. And this exercise, so this is the production phase. This is where we practice fluency, but you can see that first of all, these exercises give quite a solid base for questions and short answers because there is a lot of drilling, so they provide a lot of opportunities to speak. And it is still a bit more on the controlled side because the children are given certain prompts, but we are already practicing fluency. And as I said, the exercise is focused on production, right? So we're slowly moving on here, but rather than suddenly expecting our students to make dialogues, you practice fluency in a much more controlled environment, giving prompts, giving flashcards, writing keywords on the board. And then we will move on to the next step, right? And we are going to challenge them further. So, there's one thing that I personally love the most in the world, and when it comes to games, and I think children love it too. To my experience, pretty much every child loves it, and it's a detective game. So let's play a detective game. And here's what I do. So I take flashcards with the words we have learned so far. And it might be the words, let's say, from the given unit, right? Depending on how far along you are in the school year and how many words your students know. It can be 5, 6, 7, it can be 20 flashcards if you want. So to make it simpler, I am going to take nouns only for the first round. All right. So because it's quite a complex game, it requires a lot of thinking already. So I want to kind of like simplify it in a way that I'm just going to use very familiar words. Now, I place the flashcards around the classroom, and they can be placed again, depending on your students, you know them best, either in plain sight or only, like sticking out from some places. So they're a bit hidden. whatever you decide is better for your group. And then I tell my students that I have a secret message for them, and it's hidden behind these flashcards. But these flashcards, they have to be picked up from these places in a correct order. Now, for each flashcard, there is either a letter written at the back of it. If you have laminated flashcards, you can use a marker, or maybe there is an envelope right at the back of every flashcard, and there's like a word in each envelope, or a letter, or usually a letter or a word, right? Yeah, what else can you do? You can simply just attach small pieces of paper, like it's up to you. You can just put a piece of paper next to the flashcard and so on. If you decide to put letters there, the secret message will be a word. If you decide to put words, then the secret message is a full sentence. Now, as I said, the students, they have to pick them up in a correct order. So we start with a balloon, like you can see in the slide, and they have to pick the balloon, the bird, birthday cake, family, hamster, horse, and rabbit. They cannot pick up rabbit right after the balloon. All right, that's not going to work because they don't know, but that there are words behind these flashcards or letters, so they have to be picked up in a correct order. So students now take turns, and one by one, they ask you a question this time. So look, there's going to be a lot of production. It's a really challenging task now. They're going to say, can you see? Just like they did here. Can you see a horse? Can you see the sun? Can you see Tom? You see, so it's the same structure, but this time they've produced the language independently. So they go, can you see a balloon? And, they just pick one of the words from the flashcards. And if your answer is, yes, I can, they can pick up the flashcard and they can take the message. And if it's a letter, maybe they can write it on the board or they can put it in one place. And this is where you're going to be collecting them. It's up to you, depending on, your classroom and what you have, like the what I say, the conditions you work in, right? Whether it's online classroom, you have to adjust it. Okay. Now, then the next student asks a question. For example, can you see a birthday cake? And if you say, no, I don't, it means that this piece of puzzle will be needed later. And there is another one that they need first. So they continue. And if you have a very big class, if a student asks a question and you say no, then the next student asks a question. If you have a small class, they can keep asking until they find the right word. Again, it's adjustable, right? So you can adapt it to your needs and your context. Now, it may be a bit tricky to remember the order for you as a teacher, to remember the order in which they have to pick the cards. So what I do is I always, put them in the alphabetical order. And because they're in the different parts of the classroom, the children, they will never notice, right? But of course, you can also just like write it on a piece of paper or like, so I just like immediately did this because I often write on my hands also. So don't worry, the children will not notice it. So yeah, you can just write it or go alphabetically. Now, once the message is there, I would ask the group to read it out. And the secret message, or like say it out loud, and the secret message can be anything that you want to maybe announce, like song time or story time, or maybe something you want to revise. So it can be a question, or maybe it's something that you want to teach. For example, a word from the next unit, because you play it at the, in the last lesson of a certain unit, and next week you're starting a new unit. So you already spark their interest. You go, the word is a kite. What is a kite? And then, you can play around it. So yeah. So it's up to you depending on what you need, right? And the reason I like this game is that the children, first of all, they ask questions. And while they ask questions, we give them the chance to get tangible results that lead them to the next clue. It's not just an answer, it's a physical piece of paper or the lack of it, right? So it's something they can touch, actually, right? So there's the action, the reaction. They do something and there's a consequence to it, right? Immediately. That leads them to solving the mystery. And it's not just fun and play. It's using the language to actually, again, they don't realize, but they're using the language to obtain specific information. In this case, whether whether it's this or that flashcard, whether it's this or that envelope, they are using the language to actually gain information. That's awesome, isn't it? Because they're going to do the same next time, like, I don't know, in 15 years' time when they are buying train tickets, right? And they have to ask which platform the train departs from, right? It's the same thing, just 15 years earlier. And I also like it because it's not enough to just repeat the structure. They also have to stay engaged and stay focused because they kind of have to remember which flashcards have been mentioned before, So there's a lot of thinking going on here, but it's also very easily adjustable to their level. So if they need more support, you can point to the flashcard, right? So you can, again, adjust it to your own needs and, well, the needs of your students. And yeah, they have to take risks. They have to make guesses. Sometimes they will receive a negative answer, which is also fine. It's part of the game. And all of it happens without them really realizing that, it's a grammar that they're practicing and it's fluency that we're developing. So we have the fun element. We have a lot of drilling, accuracy, and we also have practicing fluency in a fun way and also in a way that makes sense because they obtain real information. So I think at this point, it's worth mentioning that, as you have seen, while the fun element is a constant element of pretty much each and every lesson, and in a way, each and every exercise, even if it's a bit more static, fluency practice and accuracy practice, they can, but don't always have to happen at the same rate within each lesson unit. There is no, like accuracy and fluency, these are interconnected. We have already established that. But we can decide where we put our focus and we can decide what our students need at a given stage of the lesson, at a given stage of the school year, the unit, or another chunk of time that you're in. So we're kind of doing what our students were doing with the building blocks. They use building blocks to build sentences, and we're also kind of like building, our lesson or lesson. And the lessons, from what I know, because I talked with Ina, I know your lessons are very short, and I know at first you have 35 minutes, right? That's a very short lesson. If you have a big group, that's an extremely short lesson. So you might not be able to, squeeze all the activities into one teaching unit. It's just impossible with also, the bureaucracy and whatnot. Even 40 minutes later, that's still very, very short. So that's why it's so important to look at the unit that you're working with as a whole, right? So don't take it lesson by lesson. Look at it as a whole and then divide it. And then you will see, okay, at first this is going to happen. We're going to immerse our students. And then there will be some more formal practice. I will probably need about 2 lessons for that. So I want to make sure that it's fun, but only then will my students be ready to produce the language more independently. So if you don't feel that your students are practicing fluency in the first lesson, it's fine. It's too soon yet. You will get there. The fluency, it is there anyway. But just like, don't put emphasis on that yet, right? Establish the context, get the emotional response, get them, focus on the fun element. And then keep the fun element, focus on accuracy. So they have enough exposure and they have heard enough and they have repeated enough, drilled enough, and practiced enough for you to then move on to the fluency stage, in which they already have enough to, with or without your help, depending on your students, produce the language more independently. So, yes, there are two more exercises that I want to show you. You have seen the whole process, but I want to give you a little bit more inspiration. So I'm going to do it very quickly. And they're classroom tested, so you can just take them, use them on Monday, or but probably not Monday, maybe Monday in 2 weeks, or maybe closer, you know, to Wednesday, when the school year starts. You can also adapt them to your needs, and you can use them, of course, not with just one specific lesson in one specific unit, but of course you can use them with different lessons and different topics. So this is an exercise focused on accuracy, right? So this is our focus. So there has been already exposure, story, and whatnot. Now we're in this like accuracy stage where we provide children with enough practice before they produce the language independently. And for this, I use a Grammar Booster worksheet. And in Academy Stars, you have these Grammar Booster exercises, which I personally think are great because they provide a bit more practice. But it doesn't mean that I would just hand them out to my students and say, fill the gaps, right? Especially in your situation in which your students are learning two alphabets simultaneously. So, you know, right? But I'm going to use them. And I am going to use the graphic grammar video. So the building blocks, right? And again, we're going to play with the building blocks, just like I showed you. And then finally, we are going to use the colors from the video to draw blocks on the worksheets. So we are going to color code it, right? The same way we use, like we're going to use the same way, the same colors that the students have seen in the video and have put together using blocks, right? Again, just to show them that it's still the same thing, what they hear in the video, what they play with, and what they see in the book. Again, if your students can't write yet, which they can't at the very beginning, that's perfectly fine. It's enough if they just use colors. You can read the sentence out, or they can say the sentence, and you can present the colors on the board, but you can already play with it. Even without writing, they can already create correct sentences. And this will also immediately help my students distinguish between positive and negative sentences, right? So they will be able to like visualize the language using colors before they produce it more independently. And you can also use this method with reading. If you have a reading text, probably a bit later, right? Because again, I assume that your students do not write, do not read yet. I think it's a fair assumption. But later on, they can, you know, circle the words in stories that they read, and so on, so forth, right? And here's one more example of an exercise, now this time focused on not accuracy, but fluency. And we have a short story introducing the structure of this is and that's my or your. And it is built around the vocabulary from the unit. So in this case, it's family members, and we're going to practice fluency. So here's what we do. I'm going to call 6 students to the front of the classroom. 5 of them will form a line and get a flashcard with one family member each. Right, so brother, grandpa, sister, mom, dad, let's say. So 5 of them. Now the 6th student will stand behind the line in a way that he or she cannot see who is who, right? The person behind, the 6th students, they cannot see the flashcard, so they don't know. They're going to be guessing. And they're going to be pointing to these 5 students, one after another, and create sentences. This is my grandma, for instance. And if the answer is correct, the class says yes. So the whole class is engaged, not just the asking student, not just the students holding flashcards, but the whole class. Now, if it isn't correct, then they say no, and they try again, and we switch roles. It's a very simple game. It can be funny sometimes, especially when children say, oh, this is my grandpa, and they might be pointing to a girl. You know, there's usually some fun and jokes, you know, it can be quite ridiculous, which is fine. But we are the students are producing the language independently. And you can use it with a variety of structures, especially when you have like positive, negative sentences. Like for instance, with have got, has got, and clothes, right? like, don't like, and food. So you see, again, a very simple game, but look how much is happening, right? There's like zero preparation on your side, but there is a lot of guided fluency practice that can be more guided or a bit less guided when your students are already better and more confident and they don't need that much of your support. So I hope you see that while the fun element is everywhere, I'm going to repeat it, that the balance between accuracy and fluency in our lessons, it doesn't have to be 50-50. I would argue it can't be 50-50, right? Because you've got short lesson units, you've got a lot to do, and we have to think about it and we have to make wise decisions and build it gradually. So you decide where you put emphasis in a given lesson. If you look at your book, let's say you take Academy Stars and you look at the whole unit, you will understand quickly what's going on there and that you slowly start from learning the words to, the students, from learning the words to speaking a bit more independently, as 6-year-olds can, of course, right? So I hope you also, after this session, see the importance of relatable content. And if we build our lessons around the topics that students are already excited about in their everyday life, like games, fun, pets, family, these things that you have listed in the chat window, rather than expecting them to express themselves in abstract situations using abstract concepts, we will simply, our job will be easier. We'll build on what they already know. We take what they know and we add to it, right? And they understand what's going on because it is going on in their native language outside of the lessons as well. And this method creates long-term engagement, right? Because it makes sense, right? Your students are enthusiastic to come to your lessons because from their perspective, the lessons are all about stories, conversations, and games, not another school subject in which they have to create a sentence in present simple. And I cannot promise that it will all happen fast and smoothly. So I'm going to be fair with you. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not like every lesson is going to be great and every lesson the students, after the whole unit, they will be, having fun in every lesson and every lesson will be fireworks and then they're never going to make mistakes and are going to speak confidently. It will not happen immediately and it would not happen like always, right? Because there are so many external factors that we cannot do anything about. But I do guarantee that whereas some of your students will get it faster and some of them will need more revision, they will, and I guarantee they will come to your lessons to talk about the world as they experience it, not to learn a set of rules. And I want you to take what we talked about. I want you to try these exercises. Open your book, look at the whole unit, think about how it's structured, check out the teacher's book. You might find a lot of useful information there. And I can only wish you to prepare amazing lessons that are fun, but they also balance this factor of practicing accuracy and fluency well. So it's nice for the kids, it's nice for you, and everyone is happy. So thank you very much. It was amazing. It's been amazing having you here. And thank you so much for being so active in the chat window. I really, really appreciate it so much. And yeah, and I am looking forward to seeing you in the future. So thank you
Gosha,
very
thank you very
much.
much. I believe, and I spotted what the participants typed in the chat box, that your ideas that you usually shared, and today is not the exception, are really practical. And maybe not next week, but in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time, our participants will try them with their learners. Now we have a very short overview of the course from which Gosha took the examples. This is Academy Stars second edition. As one of you already typed in the chat box, the course is full of the stories, and now it's second edition. So for those of you who used the first edition, there will be information what is new. For those who never saw or worked with Academy Stars, it will be just a completely new course. So it has 7 levels. Level starter is either for preschoolers, or there are schools who take it in grade 1. Переходжу на українську мову. Чим цей курс так популярний і чому його так люблять вчителі, які вже не перший, не другий, навіть не третій рік поспіль працюють і дуже ним задоволені? Тому що він завдяки тому, як він побудований, і я сподіваюся, ви помітили це у презентації, яку робила Гоша, наскільки він логічний і наскільки іде поступове накопичення від presentation, від пасивного сприйняття до майже free production. В цьому курсі є 3 типи відео. З одним типом відео Гоша сьогодні вас знайомила, це графіграма, але є також speaking відео і reading time відео. Він дуже гнучкий. Це означає, що він підходить до роботи в будь-яких умовах, чи то офлайн, чи то онлайн, чи це один тиждень ми працюємо онлайн, один офлайн. Тобто будь-який сценарій, в ньому є все для того, щоб вам було комфортно як вчителям. Для тих дітей і батьків дітей, для кого є важливим подальше майбутнє їхніх дітей з точки зору мовних іспитів, наприклад, то в курс Academy Stars закладена підготовка до Cambridge Young Learners Exams, і в другому виданні її стало кратно набагато більше. Але навіть якщо у ваших учнів або їхніх батьків немає таких амбіцій, то ці завдання ми розглядаємо просто як ще один варіант повторення і як підтвердження для батьків, для керівництва, відповідність знань учнів нашим державним стандартам, бо наші навчальні програми ні для кого не є секретом, вони написані на основі СЕФР, а СЕФР – це Cambridge Young Learners Exams. Графічна граматика, знов-таки, повторю про те, про що показувала вам Гоша. Тут є color coding, тобто кожній частині мови призначено певний колір, призначено не даремно, тут працювала ціла низка спеціалістів, і активності, як це можна використовувати на ваших уроках, з вами цими активностями сьогодні ділилася Гоша. Що ж з'явилося нового в цьому виданні? Окрім того, що залишилося з першого незмінним. Оновилися тексти для навчання Reading Comprehension. Кожен 4-й урок тематичного розділу – це навчання Reading Comprehension, і ці тексти є абсолютно новими. Я б сказала, що вони наближені до реального життя сучасної дитини. Додалася граматика, тобто її стало знов-таки кратно більше, і один з нових елементів граматики, Grammar Booster, Гоша вам сьогодні показала, додалося аудіювання. В першому виданні, в робочому зошиті, аудіювання не було, в другому воно є. Те, що в першому виданні мало назву Values, тепер це Education for Sustainable Development, але за сутністю це те ж саме. Тобто це питання, які виходять за межі просто предмету англійська мова, а більше націлені на соціально-емоційний розвиток. Про підготовку до міжнародних Young Learners іспитів я сказала, повністю оновилися ресурси цифрові, вони стали багатшими і більш зручними. І у учнів з'явився новий цифровий ресурс – це 3D-гра Navio, де у форматі 3D-гри діти повторюють і практикують лексику, граматику, фонетику. І для вчителя додалися додаткові ресурси, а саме додаткові воркшити. Ой, кілька прикладів вам оновлених текстів для навчання Reading Comprehension. Ви бачите, що вони такі, це з першого рівня, тобто вони більш наближені до життя наших дітей. З точки зору граматики, те, що я сказала, окрім Grammar Booster, з'явилася ще гра у карти. І нехай вас не лякає те, що я щойно сказала, діти дійсно грають у карти, які вони самі і вирізають. В кінці підручника у них є так звані cutouts, вони вирізають набір карт, і ця вправа, це завдання на кожний урок з граматики, він завершується такою грою, він дає реальний привід дітям говорити англійською мовою, використовувати щойно вивчені граматичні структури у усному мовленні, а не штучно створена якась ситуація, як це дуже часто буває на уроках, коли ми змушені створити штучно ситуацію спілкування, а тут вона абсолютно реальна. Крім того, додаткові завдання на практику граматики з'явилися і на уроці Language in Use, також до нього є Grammar Booster Activities. Аудіювання, про яке я казала в робочому зошиті, воно додалося як перша вправа майже на кожному уроці. Таким чином, в робочому зошиті ми спочатку сприймаємо певний матеріал, з яким працювали в підручнику, на слух, а потім вже на читання або на письмо. Один ще приклад тексту для читання. І ось те, що замінило рубрику values, how can we look after our pets? We are all good at different things. What is your talent? І на що я, наприклад, звернула увагу, коли гортала книгу для вчителя, це на те, що є прям порада і рекомендація, обговорюючи ці питання, дуже важливі питання, які виходять за межі англійської мови, дозволено використовувати first language. Це, мені так зелене світло, тому що питання є важливими для життя 7-8-річної дитини. Це про їхній світ, про те, що їх цікавить, а, звісно, у дитини, яка навчається у 1-му, у 2-му або навіть 4-му класі, все одно не вистачає ані лексики, ані структури, ані тієї ж самої fluency англійської мови для того, щоб сказати все те, що вони хочуть сказати, а сказати їм є, що why are these winter activities good for you. Вони це розуміють, але їм ще не вистачає лексики і знань для того, щоб сказати це англійською. То ось тут якраз у рекомендаціях прям дозволено і рекомендовано обговорювати ці питання з використанням їхньої рідної мови. Це у нас приклади Grammar Booster. Те, про що я говорила, що додалося кратно кількості завдань у форматі кембриджських іспитів, знов-таки там, де є амбіція скласти ці кембриджські іспити, окей, це супер, але я знаю, що в переважній більшості шкіл таких амбіцій немає, але виконання такого типу завдання дасть дітям і їхнім батькам відчуття впевненості і прогресу, і успіху. Ага, я змогла або зміг виконати завдання таке саме, яке вимагається на міжнародних іспитів. Я крутий, я відчуваю, що у мене класний прогрес. Серед ресурсів вчителя, звісно, є тести, і ці тести містять завдання на аудіювання, на читання, на письмо, на усне мовлення, відмінність від першого видання. Є у вчителя така іграшка електронна, називається генератор тестів, і тут можна згенерувати рандомно тести з заготовок, аудіювання, читання, письмо, усне мовлення і, як ви можете побачити, additional vocabulary and grammar. Воркшити і додаткові extra resources, про які я говорила, вони серед ресурсів учителя. На кожен розділ по 2 воркшита з лексики, граматики і 1 з фонетики, читання, орфографії. Цифрові ресурси. У вчителя в книзі для вчителя є код, за ним активується цифрова книга для вчителя з вбудованими аудіо, відео та інтерактивними вправами, робочий зошит цифровий так само, ресурсний центр вчителя, де є ось ці всі додаткові готові завдання, а також тести, і є інструмент для створення домашніх завдань з автоматичною перевіркою. Таким чином виглядає нова версія платформи, New Generation of our Macmillan Education Everywhere Platform. Тут все інтуїтивно продумано, тут є дуже зручний перехід, швидкий, ось я зробила скріншот, зручний перехід в один клік між підручником і робочим зошитом і назад. Є ігри, додаткові ігри лексичні. Є ігри і робота з флеш-картками. Ось так виглядає робота з флеш-картками, де ви можете на ваш розсуд або все приховати і по одному їх показувати, або всі одразу виставити. Можна одразу показати абсолютно всі зображення, сховавши те, як вони пишуться. Можна зробити навпаки. І це все в електронному вигляді просто одним кліком миші, і це зручно і в умовах навчання онлайн. А у нас, не забуваємо, є регіони, на превеликий жаль, у нас є регіони, які можуть працювати виключно в режимі онлайн, виключно в дистанційному форматі. Але також це дуже зручно і дуже такий фан, бо тема у нас була сьогодні accuracy and fun. Це фан, якщо у вас є куди це демонструвати, тобто є, наприклад, інтерактивна дошка, то з цим можна гратися і безпосередньо на уроці. І застосунок 3D-гра, про яку я сказала, вона є у учня і у вчителя, і все це активується за кодом, це Navio. Я наробила трошечки скріншотів, бо не дозволяє час нашої конференції показати вам це наживо, проте на наступних наших зустрічах я обов'язково вийду і зайду в цей застосунок і покажу, як він працює в режимі реального часу. Його величезною перевагою для, скажімо, батьків є те, що діти все одно граються в онлайн-іграшки, але коли вони граються в інтернеті, у відкритому інтернеті, завжди є ризик того, що спливе якась не та реклама недоречна або якесь посилання. То ось цей застосунок, який є онлайн-грою, але це таке замкнений і дуже безпечний для дитини простір. Ось таким чином діти бігають, в цю іграшку можна грати на планшеті, на телефоні, на лептопі, на стаціонарному комп'ютері. Вони бігають, стрибають на кнопки, в них відкриваються завдання, вони їх виконують, поки не виконують, вони не зможуть пройти далі, вони заробляють бали, вони заробляють електронні віртуальні грошики і бейджики, і на них вони можуть придбати аксесуари для свого аватара, який вони обрали. Отже, друге видання Academy Stars – це нові додаткові завдання з граматики, Grammar Booster і гра, Communicative Game. Це нові тексти для читання, це завдання у форматі міжнародних іспитів для Young Learners, це додаткові завдання і ПЕК, які є у вчителя, це нова цифрова платформа. І на цій ноті я із задоволенням вітаю і надаю слово ще одній нашій спікерці, пані Анні. Хто був вчора, то ще раз просто насолодяться тими ідеями, які Аня, я абсолютно впевнена, поділиться. I'm switching back into English. Аня, I'm glad to see you again.
Yes, am I?
Anya is going to tell you and show you how it is possible for every learner in your classroom succeed. Yes, am I right, Anya?
Yeah, I hope so. I'm sure I will. Okay.
So the audience is yours.
Okay. Let me share my presentation. Okay. Okay, hello everyone. I hope you can see me and hear me and everything works. Welcome back, all of you who I saw yesterday. And today I am the last one, so I am really under impression that you are still here, fresh and ready to get some new knowledge, but I do understand that you've been here for a while, so I'll try to keep it as short, as packed as possible. So just stay with me for a few moments, and we are going to look at a classroom, early years classroom, that is full of children who are different and who we all love. So we are going to try and see how to make them a group, a team, rather than a selection of individuals. So yeah, if you were here yesterday, you already know, but for the new ones, I just wanted to tell you that young learners and very young learners are my favorite group, because apart from being a teacher of English as a foreign language, I'm also a graduate of early years pedagogy and pedagogical therapy. So I am trying to sort of combine those two fields of knowledge and to show you the activities that work in my classroom. This is a very short presentation, so we don't have much time, and I've selected only the activities that work in my classroom. So whichever one you like, you can try it out in your classroom next time you go and see whether it works. I promise it works in my classroom, so I'm pretty sure it will be fine in your classroom as well. Just give it a go. Okay, so we are celebrating success with every child in our classroom today. So let's have a look what kind of children we have in our classroom. Okay, first of all, we are going to have a look at how beautifully our students differ, because you don't get a class ever that is full of individuals that are identical. Okay, they always differ. There is always a heterogeneous group. And if you're teaching adults or older teenagers, they are more homogeneous, ironically, than little children, because children differ not so much in their level of English because they haven't had much experience yet, but they differ largely at their level of maturity. So they are still at the stage of developing, and so they develop very at different paces, they are at different stages of development at different areas, and we've got a class like that, and we need to look at them all and appreciate everybody. So we are going to look at this one, and then we are going to have a look at the possibilities and the potential the classroom gives, because very often people say that it is a downside that the classes are big. And of course, if the classes are too big, I can see the downside, but I always say that working in a group gives more opportunities than working individually, because you've got your peers around, and you as a teacher also, you have different possibilities for interactions, for grouping, for dynamics in the classroom, if it's a classroom rather than individual tutoring. So we are going to see in what ways students can learn together and from each other. And then we are going to have a look at the ways in which we can help them become a team, because today I'm claiming that a team is much better than a group, than just a class of students in one building, in one place. But to become a team, some mechanisms have to come inside, right? It's not like it doesn't happen automatically. Yeah, you build a team. And finally, we are going to look at some techniques that help us engage all the students, regardless of how different they are and regardless of the differences between them, because our task is to make them a team. And as teachers in general, we are trying to equip them with skills and abilities that will help them in future education, not only in English, but generally and in their life, because we don't teach English, we teach children, right? So they are the focus of our attention, not the language itself, right? We are using it as a tool, and we are teaching, obviously, them to communicate and to use the language, but we need to have the children at heart, right? Their general development as people, little people, rather than little learners of English, okay? All right, so let's see what kinds of students we have in our classroom and where the differences hide, okay, and where we can find the differences. Or if we walk into the classroom and we see that the students are wildly different, why are they different? In what areas are they different? Well, first of all, they differ in cognitive skills because they develop at different paces, right? So typically all course books or methodological texts will give you the statistical norm, okay? So a child at the age of 6 should do this or that. But we know that children are different, and also in a classroom there will be children that were born in January and children that were born in December. And if it's high school, the difference is not going to be significant. But if they are 7 or 8, the difference is huge. Like 1 year of life in a 7-year-old child is a lot. So here the differences can be can come from the matriculation processes in general, okay? And they can't do anything about it. They just mature at a given pace. But they can also have different language experiences, okay? So they may have met the language in different circumstances, both their first and the second language. They may come from families where there are a lot of children, for example, and they talk to each other a lot, so they have a lot of contact with peers. They may come from a family where there is only one child and they only talk to adults, so they will have different language experience because of that, first language experience. And they also have different second language experience. We'll see that in a second. And social emotional maturity. So cognitive skills is just one side, right? Because this is about the brain. The brain matures at a given pace. Social emotional maturity comes from experience. So you come into contact with other people and you mature in a given pace. There are children that are more shy and children that are more outgoing. So the social emotional maturity is also at different stages developed in the group that we have in our classroom, and we have to deal with that as well as teachers. Okay, so in terms of cognitive skills, the most significant points where children differ is in thinking skills. Okay, so there will be children who will be very good at reasoning, for example, very good at memorizing, and there will be children in whom these skills have not developed yet. And there is nothing wrong with that because they're still within the norm for their age. But as I say, because the children differ, like there can be a year gap between them, it might influence their ability for reasoning, for remembering, for making connections. Okay, so all the thinking skills might be developed differently. Mental flexibility is kind of my favorite area, and this is what I did my PhD on. I like it most. Mental flexibility is the ability of children to switch between one activity and another. So in a classroom, you can see it when you are doing an activity with a group and you say, okay, now we are doing task number 1. Now we finished task number 1 and we are moving to task number 2. And there will be different children. There will be children that have already finished task number 1 and moved to task number 2 automatically. There will be children who haven't finished task number 1 yet. So when you move to task number 2, they lag behind because they work more slowly because of their thinking skills in maturity. But there will also be children who have already finished task number 1 and they could easily move to task number 2, but they freeze. Okay, I am pretty sure you've seen this at least once in your career in the classroom, that there will be children who are ready to move to the next stage of the lesson, but for some reason they don't. Yeah, they just sit there. It's like, what's going on? Where am I? What are we doing? Yeah, that's because of the underdeveloped mental flexibility. They will get there, okay? But at this particular point, it's not there yet, okay? So if this happens, don't get frustrated. It's nothing personal. This is a feature of the brain. The brain is immature and the flexibility doesn't go like that, okay? It takes time for the children to move from one task to another, okay? From one thought to another. Yeah, we just need to wait a second longer for this or that child to catch up. Okay, and they will also differ in attention span. Okay, so all of you who were there yesterday probably know what attention span is to be expected of children at the age of reception class. So we were yesterday talking about children at the age of 5 and 6-ish, about the length of their attention span. So now I'm going to ask you, what length of attention span would you expect from a child at the age of 7, 8 in minutes? How much time do you think a child at the age of 7, 8 can focus for? How many minutes? 10, Julia is a good guess actually. 10, 10 is perfect. 10 is actually perfect. Yeah. Okay, lovely. Okay. Yeah, 12, 15 is a little bit optimistic. Good one. Okay, lovely. Your guesses are very good. Oh, 20 is very optimistic. Obviously, of course, it depends on the class, it depends on the students, it depends on a lot of factors that we are going to look at still. But statistically, typically, you can expect from 10 to 12 minute period of focus. Okay, so I would like, target on 10. And so in a classroom of 7, 8-year-olds, you can go for anything between 8 minutes and 12 minutes. There will be children who can't take 8. There will be children who can take much longer than 12. But statistically, like the mainstream would be 10-ish, okay, between 10 and 12. Typically, the quote is. That's not a lot, okay? And what it means for us as teachers is that after every 10 minutes of the lesson, the task has to change, and it has to change dramatically, okay? It can't be like now we were, I don't know, putting the verb in the right form, and now we are rewriting the sentences, because from the perspective of the child, there is no change, okay? The change has to be like, now we're drawing, and now we are standing up, going to the carpet area, and we are going to sing. And now we are coming back to the tables, and we are reading or watching a story. This is a change. It must be dramatic. Every 10 minutes. If you don't want to have disciplinary problems in the classroom. So good classroom management, if you want to have good classroom management, plan for a change every 10 minutes. That will be like a good guess for their attention span. But they will differ, obviously, in their attention span. Now, language experience. What happens? Well, the exposure to language. As I said, to the first language, but also to the second language. What environment do the children come from? Is it like in their home? Do they watch a lot of films in English? Do they listen to songs in English? Do they do a lot of activities online in English? Is English important? Like, do their parents stress that English is something that they need to know or they need to learn? Do they communicate with other children in English online? Okay, so there will be children who do and children who don't. So the differences in the exposure to language are going to be quite big. Like when I was a child, it was not an issue because there was not so much English around. And I would you could bet that the only exposure to English you had was in the classroom. So it was controlled, and now it's not controlled at all. Okay, children have very different experiences with English. Some have families that speak English, for example, that they will have other exposure. So yeah, some of children live in different countries. If you teach online, for example, some of your students may live in countries where English is more widely spoken or more around. And so the exposure to language will differ for the children. Literacy in L1. Gosia also mentioned that the literacy in Ukrainian is in a different alphabet. So they are learning at the same time 2 different systems. And the better they are in the first language, the better they will be in the second language. So if the children are the attention of the parents, for example, is on developing Ukrainian as the third language, there is a good guess that the children will do better in their second language as well, because languages are connected and the logic is important and it underlies all languages. So generally, if you know your first language well, you will know the second language well as well. Okay, a language awareness. Now, this is something that children also will differ in, because some children will be curious, okay? Where does this word come from? Or children will, you can see this curiosity of children when they, for example, find a shampoo in their bathroom and they find a word that they know, and they will come to you and say, oh, I found this word I know, and it was written on the shampoo. And so they will sort of be interested in how the language works itself. They will be interested in the structure of the language, in the grammar of the language, right? So they will be interested in the fact that there is a subject, verb, object. I mean, they will not say that, but they will see that there is a dog, and then there is has, and then there is something else. So this language awareness is also very important, and it also goes interlingually. Okay, so some of the children will easily find the connection between a word in English and a similar word in their first language, and say, okay, this word might mean this because it sounds like or looks like a word that I already know in my first language. So they will be making guesses. Children who make guesses and who have a high language awareness are potentially better learners because they learn faster. It's easier for them to learn. And social emotional maturity. Now, here the differences will be in areas that are developed, not inborn. For example, interaction skills. And again, if you've got a big family and you interact with peers, or you've got a lot of friends in the backyard, then interaction skills will be better. If you are the only child and not very outgoing, rather a shy person, you might have less developed interaction skills. And it doesn't really depend on the child. It's not a fault of the child or whatever. It just is. Okay, this is the situation that we are faced with. The children come from different societal milieux, so this is why. Self-regulation. Okay, so there will be children who are well behaved and children who are a little bit naughty. Okay, and it does not. I know that naturally, it's the reaction of the teacher is to blame it on the parents, right? So the child is not raised well, but it's not necessarily the case. Okay, self-regulation is a developmental feature. When you are small, you have low self-regulation and you cannot do much about it. Of course, the society and the rules and regulations that you hear and you have to obey help you develop self-regulation. But if you've got not very well-behaved children in your classroom, that it may just mean that you have to give them time and they will mature. Okay, it's not necessarily that they are just badly raised. Okay, maybe they just need some time. This is like a maturity thing. They will get there. They will be better self-regulated. This is what we can see, for example. I don't mean like big things, right? Tiny little things. Like you've got a group of children and you tell them, okay, who knows the answer? Put your hand up. Okay, and there are a few children always in every classroom that can't wait. Okay, so they know the answer, they have to shout the answer out. Okay, but if they are in the developmental norm and they do that, it's because they have not matured yet. Okay, so you have to be patient and you have to tell them no, no, don't do that. Okay, because this is not how we do that. Okay, they will learn. But they also have to mature to that. Okay, because they know. If you ask them, they know the rule. It's stronger than them. It's somewhere inside and they just have to say it because they know the answer. It's also nothing personal. Don't get frustrated. Children generally are not malicious. They don't want to make our work more difficult. Okay, and they will differ in confidence. And this again may be an individual feature, so they might be just shy. Or it may result from the nurture, the social experience that they get. Okay, so for example, if you fail always and the teacher always tells you that you are wrong and this is wrong and you did that badly and this is bad and this is not well done, well, your confidence tends to go low. Okay, now to become confident, you have to have the experience of success. So if we want to contribute, we need to set goals that are attainable for every student, okay? And when there is a tiny little success, you acknowledge the success and then the confidence goes up, okay? So there will be children with higher confidence levels and children with low confidence levels, but if they interact with each other and if this is a team, supportive environment, then the confidence level by the end of the first grade should be leveled. Okay, all children should be more or less confident in your lessons. Okay, and in other lessons as well. If you do your job well, it will transfer to the other lessons as well, because we have the power to change the world for the better. Okay, so this is how they differ. Now the question is, what can we do about that? How can we use that? Okay, now we can help them develop together. Okay, so the big advantage that we have now is that we collected those children from different places, very different children, and we put them in one controlled environment, and we control the environment. So here we can help them learn together, learn something from each other. Okay, children learn better from each other than from the teacher, right? Because the difference in knowledge between the child and the teacher is huge, and the difference in knowledge between a teacher and a peer is small, and it's easier to level. Okay, so they are learning together to learn from each other. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, first of all, we set a scene. Okay, we tell the students, I always imagine my classroom as like a separate world. Okay, I don't care what they do on other classes, but when they enter my class, this is our world, our secret. It's like, you know, like walking through the wardrobe to Narnia or whatever. They come to my classroom, and in this course, for example, we are in an amazing park. Okay, and we are going on an adventure. Okay, and we make it a big deal that we are going somewhere together, right? Because we are not here just for one moment. We are not here just to learn some grammar or whatever random words. We are here because there is an adventure to discover, okay? Places to go, things to discover. So we are together embarking on this adventure, all right? And to mark the beginning, every lesson starts with a hello song. You probably have the same routine, but I like this one because it's a good song, and also it gives it builds the community, right? It says, okay, let's go together, right? Now, so I forgot to tell you that it's a little bit interactive. I have no influence on whether you interact or not because I can't see you. But if you want to and you still have energy, you can sort of, you know, move with me a little bit because we are going to sing the hello song, right? I put the lyrics for you, not for my children, because my children don't read that well, to read it fast enough to sing it, okay? So we just practice a lot, and within third or fourth time they already remember the words because they are very, very simple. Again, as yesterday, if you are not here, I always choose songs, hello songs and goodbye songs that make sense, okay? It makes more sense to say hello and goodbye to your friend from the class and to the teacher that you know than to the characters in the book, or to pretend that you are the character of the book, right? They don't pretend anything. Yeah, we are saying hello and we are embarking on the journey, and we are hella enthusiastic about it. Yeah, and we can't wait. Okay, so this is the song. You're welcome to join and sing with me. First time I had the course, we made musical instruments from cans of Coke, empty ones with rice inside, and we were doing, you know, noises, and children loved it. Okay, so if you want to, you can have like a whole band of children doing the, you know, music elements. It's a good song. It's got a good melody, and the main point is that we are all together. Okay, now if you've got if you start the class and you take the children from somewhere to your classroom, you can sing it while walking. Okay, so that it actually makes sense that you are walking, or you can walk around the classroom or around the carpet area before you sit down. So generally the idea is to set the scene, right? Now we are in the amazing park. Okay, so now whatever happened before doesn't matter. Now we are on our adventure and we are going to the amazing park. And our adventure has different levels, okay? And now we are sort of relying on children's knowledge of games, like tiny little digital games that have levels, okay? So every you reach a level, congratulations, you made it, okay? You put a sticker, okay? You give yourself a little bit of reward, okay? And we are doing, okay? So I made it to 1, I made it to 2, I made it to 3, okay? And with every unit, we are giving ourselves a reward because we are moving along in our journey. And look where we are now, where we were, and now we are so far, okay? And how many, my children are always counting how many are left and how many we've already covered. So yeah, so this is like a map, right? A map of the amazing park, and we are walking and trying to achieve the levels. Yeah. Okay, and how do we do it together? Well, we do it together. Okay, so when there are activities, I will show you just a simple activity. This is a vocabulary activity with stickers, which are always students' favorite. And this is activity that is a listening activity meant to be an individual activity, and this is how it goes.
Unit 2, Track 4. 1.
Where's the computer?
It's on the cupboard.
2.
Where's the book?
It's in the cupboard.
3.
Where's the ruler?
It's under the cupboard.
4.
Where's the pencil?
It's under the chair.
5.
Where's the rubber?
It's on the chair.
Okay, now this is not a very difficult activity because the pictures suggest where the objects are. Okay, so when you listen to it, just to hear the sentences so that you can repeat the sentences. But language is not for making sentences, it's for communicating. Okay, so if you're looking for a difference between those two titles, the Academy Stars and this one, you are looking for the attitude or focus on either the system or the skills. Okay, so Learning Lens is much more into communication. Okay, it's a very, very communicative book. So we have covered this activity. Yeah, so we put the objects where they should be. Okay, but this is not it. Okay, because what I want is my students to communicate, right? So this was not challenging because you could actually do it without listening to the text, right? Because the pictures were just puzzles, really. But in this activity, where I have to ask questions and you have to answer questions, or we do that in pairs, then it becomes challenging because now you have to remember. Okay, so the first one is done for you. Where's the rubber? It's on the chair. But now if I want to ask about the ruler, I have to recall the whole sentence. I have to use the example from here. Where's the ruler? I have to remember the word. And to answer, you need to remember the whole thing, right? It's under the cupboard. So now it is challenging. So we start easy, but then when we are doing these activities that are communicative, we are making them real. It's real communication because it's difficult. Okay? If it was easy, if it was just, read and repeat, then they would not focus that much. Brain likes challenge. Okay? So this one, it's a little bit more difficult because you have to remember. Of course, if you're a teacher, you just go and help when they don't remember. But generally, it is more challenging than just listening and sticking stickers. Okay. The same goes with grammar. Okay. Grammar is also gamified, right? So whenever you are doing any grammar, there is the communicative activity. Okay. Because grammar is not for solving grammar puzzles, although we as English lovers love grammar puzzles. For normal people, grammar is just a tool that helps them communicate, right? So it makes sense to make games out of any activity, like this grammar activity here, we've got a game, which is a very simple game. There are cutouts. Yeah, you cut them out and you play. This is an information gap activity. So I have some information and you don't, and you want to have it. So you are asking me where someone is and I'm telling you, and you are trying to recreate my picture, okay, my house setup, okay? Now, when I saw it, I thought about an activity that I do with my students a lot. This is an activity in which I ask students on a piece of paper to write where something is, okay, using what we learn, okay? So we are learning under, behind, in front of, on, yeah, and places in the house and places in the school. So they are writing things like next to the bush, in the kitchen, under the table, yeah, behind the car. And then we are using the small pictures, and we are pretending that one student is calling the other student, okay? And one student who is calling, they have to draw at random one text and one picture, okay, at random. So they made they may end up with fishing and under the table, right? And the other person asks the questions, and the other person calling them asks them the questions, okay? So they go, okay, hello, where are you? I'm under the table. Right, and what are you doing? I'm fishing, yeah? It's typically funny, and the funnier it is, the more memorable it is, okay? So children typically like it. It's a very simple activity. It works with little children, but it also works with beginner adults. So you can use it wherever you want to practice where and what are you doing. Where are you and what are you doing? I really love it. It always works. Okay, now what do we do for the students to become a team? Okay. So what is the difference between a group and a team? Typically, when you come into the classroom for the first time, you meet a group. Okay, so the students are there for some reason, because they are maybe at the same age, maybe they come from the same area, maybe they joined the same language course or whatever. They are a group, okay? And in a group, students have individual goals, okay? So everyone went there thinking about me, I want to do something, okay? Now in a team, the goal is shared, okay? So here we are together trying to achieve all the levels on our map. We are a team, we go together on an adventure to the adventure park, and we have a goal, a shared goal that we do together. In a group, people have similar skills, or the skills may be different, but they do not correspond to each other, okay? Children are typically set in one group because they're at the same age, so we assume that they know the same amount of English or the same amount of first language, or they are maybe mature to the same level. Yeah, so they have similar skills. In a team, they also have diverse skills, but not only diverse, but complementary, okay? So I can do something and you can do something else, but together we can do something big. Okay, and this is something that is always stressed in a team, that your individual skills are great only because together we make a big picture. Okay, so we together can do much more than you individually. Okay, a group is focused on individual success. So I'm interested in getting a 5 or an A or whatever. I want to get good percent on my test, and I'm not going to give you the answer. And I'm not going to give you my homework because it's my homework, it's my success, okay? The teacher is going to praise me, okay? Now in a team, the success is collective, okay? So we are all getting something, okay? We are getting somewhere as a team. And at the end of the unit, as a team, we are going to get a sticker, okay? We need to get there together, okay? Not individually. Group is also characterized by independence and team by collaboration. So in a group, people do their task individually, okay, and not helping anyone else. There is a lot of individual work in a group, okay? So when I go and visit classrooms of my students, I can see who is building a group and who's building a team. So if the whole lesson, we've got 45-minute lessons, if the 45-minute lesson is all about individual work, there is no team, there's only group, okay? In a team, there is a lot of collaboration. Why is that important? Because language is for communicating with people, for interaction, okay? It's not for doing things individually. People did not discover language to talk to themselves, right? They discovered language to build something together. And to build something together, you need to collaborate and you need to communicate. And naturally, in a communication situation, a collaboration situation, you have roles, okay? Different people have different roles. And the collaboration works well because everybody does their role to the best, to the best they can, to contribute to the success, okay? That's why teams are more important in corporations, for example, like the workforce prefers team rather than group. Okay, and the last one is about communication. So in a group, communication is low because if you do individual tasks, you don't talk to yourself. So communication is low. But if you collaborate and you do things together, there is high level of communication because you need to, mediate, negotiate some solutions together. That's why we are going for a team, and we are trying to do everything to build a team. Okay, and building a team out of young learners is not that difficult. It gets more difficult when you're working with teenagers, for example. But with young learners, it's not that bad. Okay, you can tell them, okay, so now we are collaborating, yay! And if you put a lot of enthusiasm into it, they will follow. Okay, they generally follow the enthusiasm. So yeah. Okay, so what can we do? We can do projects. I adore projects, and I understand if you don't, because I didn't like projects until I learned how to do them well. Okay, so the first and the most important thing is that the process is much more important than the product. Okay, that's why when you are doing a project, it's not like we have finished a unit and now there is a project, do it at home, because you have no control over what is going to be done at home. And also, you are not interested in what they bring into the classroom to show you. You are interested in the process, okay? So we are interested in how the children communicate, how they solve the problem, okay? And the best situation is when the problem is real, okay? That's why I like the problems in learning lands, because they're always real. Look, there is a real challenge. The birds in the playground don't stay because it's noisy, as the playground tends to be. But the teacher wants to make a bird garden in a quiet place so the birds stay longer. And the students are helping to design a bird garden, okay? Which is great, because if you are free enough or independent enough in your school, you can actually make it happen. You can actually put the project in life, in real life. Okay, there's a cookery project or like a technical project like that, but they are all real life. It could happen. It could actually happen. So in this particular case, we are making the bird garden. Okay, so students are given cutouts and they are given a choice. We are putting students in groups of 4, and we are telling them to choose a role. Okay, so there are 4 roles to choose from. It's important that with every project, they choose a different role, because at the end of the year, at the end of the last project, you can ask them which role you felt best at. Okay, which is your favorite role? It will change with time because people change generally, but they will have the experience of being one or the other. Okay, and they will be able to say that they are good at something. Okay, and then they work, and they work on their chosen element, and then they put the elements together. They add some other elements if they want to. They make the big project, and then they present. And then they present to the whole class what they did. Now the gardens are different because everybody chose something else. They talk about the colors, they talk about the elements that they chose. And then they develop the social emotional skills, right? Because they listen to each other and they feel the pride that this is my project and I did it with my friends and it was cool. Yeah. Also, I like the little questions that go with the projects that go beyond the language, way beyond the language. Like in this one, because we are working on natural science, CLIL, content and language integrated learning, we are not focusing on learning English, on the English grammar. We are looking at an actual problem, and the problem is about natural science. So the question is about natural science, yeah? And the question is, how do you know that a bird is a living thing? Okay, so this is a question about the characteristic features of a living organisms, right? So this is a moment when you can revise their general knowledge of what a living organism has to do, right? Breathe and eat, yeah, and procreate, stuff like that. So we are sort of developing their general knowledge as well. Okay, another situation, another way where you can promote their teamwork is in the sections of reading the world. This is also meant to be real world, cultural a little bit, but cultural at the level of little children, not cultural like the history of England, but cultural like what kind of burger do you like, okay? And so this is designed as a questionnaire. This is a reading activity, so first they read and have a look at what other students say, but it's not so important, not so interesting what some Jack or some Lisa from other country likes. The most interesting thing is what I like, because children at this age are still at the egocentric level of development, so they are interested in themselves and maybe their best friend. And the rest is not so important, okay? So they are looking at the questions, they make their choices, and then they draw their burger, and then they tell their friend, okay, this is my burger, and this is what it looks like, okay? Which is fine, which is okay. But I live by the rule that everything that can be done in pairs, do in pairs. Okay, everything that you can do with someone else, do with someone else, because this is the inherent feature of language. You do it with somebody, you don't do it with yourself, unless in some situations, yes, when I talk to myself while driving or something. But normally people talk to other people. So whatever can be done together, do it together. So instead of drawing your own burger, why don't you work in pairs and ask your friend the same questions from the questionnaire and draw his burger, okay? And then you change the pronoun, because then you say your burger has got, okay? And it's delicious. Or you can work in groups, and then you practice negotiation, because we imagine that 3 or 4 people have to eat the exact same burger, okay? So you have to agree. Okay, if you like tomatoes but I don't, we won't have tomatoes. Okay, we need to make compromises. Okay, or I can agree, okay, this one time I can eat a tomato. Okay, so yeah, so we negotiate, and at the end, again, we are changing the pronoun and we are saying our burger has got. Okay, because we came to this conclusion together, right? And if you are adventurous enough and you've got enough independence and freedom in your classroom, you can actually make a burger like that for the group or for the pair. Everything that is a game, like a board board games are not very popular anymore, sadly. So I made it a point to reintroduce my students to board games, and we play a lot of board games. Now, board games require a dice or a roller or a spin, or a good solution is a coin, where you can only go 1 or 2 places. And also, when you don't want to use the dice, I wholeheartedly recommend using One-Stop English. Stopwatch. Stopwatch website. They have dices, and it's nice because you can manipulate the number of dots. So you don't have to have a dice with 6 dots. You can have a dice with 3 dots. Okay, so the whole journey takes longer. Okay, the game takes longer, because you can only throw 1, 2, or 3. Okay, nothing else is possible. A little bit like with the coin. Another one is like you can play like that with ready-made board games, but you can make your own games, like in writing. In this particular example, I've got a writing lesson in which the students are supposed to draw robots and describe a lion, because we are in the topic of body parts, right? So in this particular example, we are practicing a little bit of writing, very simple things, more reading than writing actually. But you can turn it into a game in which one of my favorite games when we are teaching body parts. You put the flashcards of body parts on the board, and you tell the students to draw a grid, like 6 by 2. 3 by 2, so 6 pictures. 6 pictures on a grid, but they have to write them on random, okay, randomly. So they choose the flashcards, they are just for reference, okay? And they choose however they like, randomly. So each pair is going to have a different order, okay? They're working in pairs, each pair will probably have a different order. They can write the names if they already can, or if they can't, they can draw pictures, okay? So either names or pictures of the body parts on the grid at random, okay, so that every pair has a different order. And then you roll the dice. You roll the dice on my stopwatch, the digital dice or a real dice, and you throw it twice. okay? The first time you roll tells you which body part, okay? So for example, if I throw and I get a 3, it means that we are looking at arms. How many arms? We are going to draw a monster, okay? How many arms? And then I roll the second time and I get, for example, 4. And the second time marks the number of how many of these body parts, right? So it means that we are going to draw, in my pair, I am going to draw a monster with 4 arms, okay? But because you put it in a different order, maybe in number 3 you've got nose and you are going to draw a monster with 4 noses, yeah? So this is what the game is. This is the actual picture that my students made for this game. This is a monster that's got 4 arms and 4 eyes, and well, depending how the dice rolled, this is what we have. And then they describe it, this is our monster, because they're working in a group, yeah? So they made the monster together and now they are describing it. Yeah, from the game. Very simple game, no preparation whatsoever, really. Just putting the flashcards on the board. Okay, and the last thing that we need to remember is that there will be students in our classroom that are somehow different for a variety of reasons, but we are making sure that we don't leave anyone behind. Why? Because now they are very young, but if they are left behind, and we fail to notice that and we just ignore it, then the gap between this person and the rest of the class is going to get larger and larger. And this is what happens, like when you get teenagers and you can't believe that there is one that doesn't know so many things, okay? Or that there is one that doesn't understand English at all, really, and the rest are more or less the same, okay? Now this is what happened when they were ignored at the very beginning. It's like with maths, yeah? I stopped understanding maths very early, and then I sucked throughout high school. Yeah, I never learned maths because I got lost too early, okay? So if we lose a student early on, then it will be very difficult for the student to catch up, right? So we are trying not to lose anyone, yeah? So we are trying not to leave anyone behind. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, because we are working with young learners, with young students, then we've got this problem of overstimulation, and they get, if you're teaching, for example, in the evening, they're already very tired, okay? They're tiny little human beings. They get tired easily. So a good idea is to use elements of mindfulness to make them a little bit calmer, or a little bit more here and now, okay? Because they might be like, the mind can be everywhere else, but not here. And we want them here for this particular lesson. It helps that we are a team and we are on an adventure, but sometimes it's not enough. So sometimes I am playing my students one of the, well, not sometimes, quite a lot. I am playing my students one of the videos that has the potential of getting them into the mood, okay? So for example, if you are going to do some speaking activity and you need to energize them because they are very tired, and they are allowed to, okay? Because it's the end of the day and they still have to learn something, and they would much rather play something and watch a video. And they came here to you and you need to energize them. Then I play them the energizing video. Before reading, a focus video is very good because it puts the mind in the right mood for focusing. But today I'm going to show you a fragment of calming. Okay, so if they are very energetic because they've just come from outside, for example, and they still would rather play football than sit in your class, yeah, you say, okay, so I can't work like that. We need to calm down a little bit. Okay, so now all of you sit down, relax a little bit. I will show you a fragment. You'll love it. Don't fall asleep though.
We're going to do some calming breaths. Let's start. Let's sit up. Put your feet on the floor. Put one hand on your belly. We're going to follow the ball with our breath. Breathe in. Breathe out. And see if you can feel your hand moving on your belly. As you breathe in, your hand might move up. And as you breathe out, your hand might move down. Breathe in and out.
Enough. Okay, I will answer this question because it's an important one from Natalie. The videos are on the Macmillan Education Everywhere platform, but they are also available in open access on YouTube. If you want to find them, you will find, I think, this one for sure. Okay, so you can use it with whatever class you have. They're really helpful. I was skeptical at the beginning because I'm not a very calm person. I'm really, a lot of energy there. But it did really work with me. And it's also not so easy because I found out that, for example, me personally, when I breathe in, the hand went down, not up. Okay, so I'm doing it wrong. It's not the way to do it, right? So it took a little bit, of practice. And it also took a little bit of practice with my children. And I know that once we watch it, then they really actually come down. Okay, so it does work magic. Yeah, try that out. Okay, there are also activities meant for sort of raising the emotional awareness in the children, which is nice because it helps the students to feel a team, right? So when I say leaving no student behind, I also mean that no student should be excluded from the team, as it sometimes happens because there are children that the rest of the class do not like too much. Okay, so there are activities that also develop this. And I know that you may say that you are English teachers and this is not your job. But since the children are in your classroom, it breaks my heart to see that there is a child that nobody wants to pair up with, for example. I don't want that to happen in my team because we are going on an adventure all together. And I don't care whether the general teacher or whatever other teacher does such activities. If I have an opportunity and I can do it in English, yeah, I do that. Okay. So this particular one is about maintaining eye contact, which is a problem nowadays with young learners, generally with people, because people typically look at their phones. Yeah, so keeping eye contact is not a natural thing to do, and this is something that we should promote because this is very human, to keep eye contact and to say hello and smile. Okay, so we do this exercise and I tell students to do that, and they smile at people that they don't normally smile at. Okay, and the atmosphere, I can see that the dynamics of the classroom gets better. Yeah, it's just a little gesture, but everybody feels welcome then, yeah, in your classroom. So yeah, this one is a nice one. And also, because students are different, they have different skills, the skills are developed at different levels. Sometimes they need some support, sometimes they need some engagement, sometimes they need a challenge. Okay, so we've got students in the same lesson sometimes that have different needs, okay? And yet we are all together in the same class, so we have to deal with it somehow. So whenever you see a symbol like that, it means that there are different tips in the teacher's book that will tell you how to do this one activity in 3 different ways, okay? So depending on who you've got in the classroom. So for example, an activity like that, a simple vocabulary activity, this is a scan from teacher's book, that's why it's already completed. But the idea is you choose a word, simple one, yeah? Choose a word from the box and you label the pictures, okay? And this is the general idea, okay? So for everyone, but if you give it to the students and you see that some of them are struggling, yeah? So you can help them by revising the vocabulary first, okay, in random order, so that's easier for them. Or you can have students for whom it's too easy and they say, oh, okay, this activity again, okay? So to make it more challenging, you tell them, okay, so you can cover the box and do the task from your head, right, from memory, and then only check the spelling, okay? Another one, just at random, this is a vocabulary introduction activity in which the students circle words. That's the general idea, but if they are struggling, you can point to the words, you stop the recording, point to the flashcards so that they recall what the word was. Or if it's supposed to be a challenge, then you tell the students, okay, first you circle and then you show me in the classroom where you can find those objects, okay? So that everybody is taken care of, okay? Those that are a little bit weaker today, sometimes only today, and those that are today, that require a challenge today. Okay, and there are also this something for everyone pages. They're like additional help. So if you've got students who struggle, even though you help them with the support, you can give them additional support sheets. They're just to print out. They can take it home. They can do it in the classroom, and the same with the achievers. Okay, so if you've got students who need more challenge, you can give them a page like that. It can also work as fast finisher. Yeah, so they finished, nobody else finished. To avoid any problems with discipline, you just give them additional task, which is more challenging, and they can do that while the rest finish their work. So that would be for individual students, but sometimes, I'm sure you've got the same experience as I do, it so happens that you get two groups and they are supposed to be at the same level, and yet one whole group is much weaker than the other one, right? So if you've got the situation like that, there are solutions for the weaker group. The support sheets where you help the students. In this particular case, there is like a scripted dialogue for the students to help them make their own dialogues on the grid. And for the same activity, for the students who are in the stronger group, you give reach higher card, and they can do that. Okay, with both of these solutions, you can do with a general group. If they are struggling, you can do support today, and then the same activity in the general form tomorrow. And then if they do it well, you can try and do the reach higher the next day. Okay, so there is this choice of activities you have. And also because children like playing, there are a lot of games on the platform, and the platform looks like a platform game. So there is an avatar and it walks along corridors in this particular case. And there are different activities that the students are doing: vocabulary, grammar, listening, speaking. And they are both for the children who require support and for the high achievers. Okay, for the support ones, just to revise, and for the high achievers, just to have an additional challenge, yeah, at home or on the way home, they can play the games. But choose your games wisely, okay? So I've got like 3 minutes to tell you that if you are teaching children vocabulary, right? Play Magic Eyes and not What's Missing, okay? If you were there yesterday, you know why. If you were not there yesterday, I'm gonna show you. Imagine that you are introducing vocabulary and we are first reading the pictures, right? So we go, as a whole class, we say book, pencil, ruler, rubber, pen, crayon, right? And then you tell them close your eyes and you cover one, okay? And when they open their eyes, what happens? There is always one child or two or three whose maturity in thinking skills and flexibility are better. They're just better developed. Okay, it's nobody's fault and nobody's success. It just happens that they are faster and they remember it faster, not because they are better at English or they were attending this particular lesson so well. No, it's just because they've got it in their nature. Okay, and they will shout out. What will they shout out? I don't remember. Pencil. And they shout out pencil. And this is the end. Okay, and so you tell the students, close your eyes again, you close one again, and then they open, and again the same child shouts out the word. Okay, so it's fun for this one child, not so fun for the rest. Okay, so instead of playing What's Missing, play Magic Eyes. In Magic Eyes, every time something is covered, as a whole class, you read from the beginning, including the words that you can see. Okay, so in this round, we would again go as a whole class. Okay, 1, book, 2, pencil, 3, ruler, 4, I don't remember, rubber, okay, 5, and so on. And until they are all covered, and we are using our magic eyes to say as a whole class, the whole thing, again, from the very beginning, one by one, okay? Now, this way, it is helping the students who are a little bit slower, not because their language is worse, but because in terms of maturity, they are not there yet. Okay, it helps them to have a chance to recall what word was missing. Okay, and it finishes with me asking you what was 4, rubber, what was 2, yeah, what was 6, okay, and so on. And so they have to recall. And one more that you are probably playing, please play follow the leader rather than Simon Says, okay? Why? Simon Says is a great game if you play it in the first language. It's a game that develops flexibility, okay? Because the idea is that you have to stop yourself from doing something if somebody doesn't say Simon Says, okay? So if I say Simon Says stand up, you stand up. If I say sit down and you sit down, it's wrong. You're out, okay? Now, if you play it in the first language, you understand the rule, you understand what's happening, okay? And you've made a mistake because that was the rule. You went against the rule. But if you are playing in the second language, it really is not a good game to play because you get punished for understanding correctly. Yes? Because if I say, Simon says stand up and you stand up, that's fine. And then I say sit down and half of the children sit down, I punish them by saying no, wrong, you're out. You don't play anymore. Okay? But they did understand it correctly. I should praise them. I should give them a reward. Well done. Yeah. So instead of introducing the Simon Says at the beginning, don't. Okay. Just tell them that name a leader. Tell the leader to give them the instruction, and the leader says stand up, they stand up. The leader says sit down, they sit down, and that's great. Okay. If the leader says turn around and they sit down, then that's bad. Okay. Then they know. Okay. I understood it wrong. Okay. But they look around and they see, aha, this is what sit down means, right? If you've got the Simon Says rule, it doesn't work in the second language. Don't play that. Okay, lovely. Thank you so much for being here with me. Just to recap everything, please enjoy differences. It's an asset. It's not a problem that children are different in the classroom. It's great that they are. It's perfect that we differ from each other. The world would be a nightmare if we were identical, okay? We need to differ. And start an adventure, yeah? Make it a thing that we are going on an English adventure together. And encourage this teamwork, that we are in it together and we've got common goals. We all want to get to the end of the map, okay? It's not like I have to learn English and I don't care about you. We all have to get there because we're a team, okay? And include everyone. Don't forget, don't lose anyone on the way, because once you lose them, it will be very difficult for them to catch up. And every student is precious, and we want to appreciate everyone in the classroom. That's why we are building this team. And I hope that in this team, everybody is going to be appreciated and happy to be there and feel safe and cozy and confident. And this will also make our lessons a pleasure and our being in the classroom real fun. Thank you so much.
Anya, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
You know that I love and believe in the course Learning Lens, which is a brand new course for Macmillan Education. In the very beginning, in the very end of our conference for primary school teachers about primary school learners, I'm going to launch one more poll to ask you whether you would like to have a closer look at either Academy Stars or Learning Lens, or maybe both. It's okay if you want to have a look at both of these courses. We do have this opportunity to bring and let you feel and cover the pages if you are in Kyiv or around Kyiv, but anyway, we can promote this opportunity online. If you are far from Kyiv, we can arrange this Zoom meeting. Anya, many thanks. I saw, as yesterday I told you that I saw Academy Star Starter in the new light. Today I saw Learning Lens in new light, especially project, because I'm the person who loves project, but who didn't like it.
No, they're perfect. They really are, and the communication is great. And it's a very, very helpful course if you like communication and if you like cooperation
Yeah.
in the classroom.
Learning Lens is for those teachers who adore communication and who are not afraid to communicate a lot in the classroom.
Yeah, like just remember that language was discovered for communication. That was the main purpose.
And
Right.
also, it's not the first time when I hear your phrase, and I love it, and I made it mine as well, that we're not teaching English, we're teaching children.
Definitely, always remember that. I always have it close to my heart. Yeah, that they are kids that have their own development level, and this is where I work with, right?
Okay, it's time to say huge thanks to you and to
Thank
the
you so much.
participants, and to remind that within 1 week, each participant will receive both a certificate, and as a separate letter, you will receive the video recording of the conference so that you can watch it once again, or maybe share with your colleagues who didn't manage to join us today. If it happened so that you also teach teenagers, then we will meet tomorrow. If not, we will definitely meet at our next conference or webinar or live session. Maybe it will become possible to meet offline, not only online. Thanks again, take care, and have a nice evening, have a nice start of the school year.
Thank you so much.